Look at that. Derek's waving. He's so excited
Hello.
to
It's
start
good.
talking.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
talking
good.
over you. Look at that, because we're
No,
so
it's-
bad at this.
that's great. It's good to be back. Happy to fill in here at the 7th hour, the 11th hour, I should say.
Yeah, you know what? This is what happened. Last month, we didn't get any work done. And I've been catching up by working. Literally, I get up, I work until 1 a.m, go to sleep, and get up and work, and do it 7 days a week. And Mark has more ancestries to write, so Mark's like, "Oh, do we have a stream?" I go, "I have a stream. You're working."
Yeah, I don't know if you responded, but I had sent you a message and I said that the folks from the Discord, that would be the night's last call, we're very happy with the doppelganger. Like it worked out really well, and I think a lot of people are very happy with it being balanced and reasonable within a Pathfinder 2 sensibilities, while still maintaining like the fun, the flavor, and the actual capabilities that you would want out of a doppelganger ancestry, right? So
yeah, we talked
That's hard
about
to deliver.
it's well, you know what? I mean, he kind of knows what he's doing, and B,
Yeah.
he said, actually, I brought that up on the stream on Wednesday with Professor Dungeon Master, is that a lot of people will try to give the flavor of an ancestry, but not the capabilities. Or if they do the capabilities, they go too much.
Yes.
And Mark, being Mark, knows how to balance the two.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And he got both. And which is, that's why I hired him, because there's very few people in the world who can do what he does. So
yeah, no, I mean, actually, I don't want to gush about Mark too much, but I think it was during you do so many streams, so I couldn't really tell you which one it was, but there was a stream that you all were doing, and Mark was kind of talking about, I think, his process towards game design or something along those natures. This was fairly recently, within the last couple of weeks. And one of Night's Last Call members was watching, and he's been kind of burned out on Pathfinder 2 a little bit. And he said, watching Mark be so passionately about interested in the game design, the mechanics, and actually like it was like the Grinch's heart growing 3 sizes too large. It like reinvigorated him with the spirit of RPGs, and really got him excited to play some more PF2. It was actually pretty funny. Again, Mark's, I think, a fantastic designer. So
yeah, and on top of that, I've been working with creatives for a very, very, very long time in my day job, and it's interesting. I would say for creative people and programmers and artists that salary is definitely important, but usually number one for them is challenge and to constantly be learning. And for Mark, I kind of knew that when he and I started working together. I said, look, if you're going to work for me, oh boy, are you going to be challenged, because I'm going to give you crazy stuff. You're going to be beyond the box. You're going to be so outside the box you won't be able to see the box anymore. And I think it's like even at Paizo, he's able to do pretty crazy stuff, but not to that extent, because
not to that extent.
Right, and now he's just getting to really push the absolute limits of how far you can go. And for someone like him, I think it's important.
Well, if I had any doubts, the dungeon ancestry was the final nail in the coffin of doubt,
which we did in one day.
One day, and I know, because I basically saw it happening, and I was like, "Holy shit, this is actually incredible!" Hey, look, you're already getting super chats.
Yeah, we'll get some super chats. So, we're just doing a little intro because Mark and I, Derek and I have not spoken in 5 minutes, but it's this is actually the topic I was going to talk about 2 weeks ago today, when the OGL and everything went Creative Commons and all that. So it's been itching me, and now suddenly it's been coming up more and more in the news. So I thought this would be interesting, because I've been watching the Kyle Brink, it's called an apology tour. That's what they call these things. I'm sure you've heard these before. And I don't think it's going very well. And I just have never seen this before. It's like I've never seen apology tours do poorly. I just can't believe what I'm watching, and it's almost like watching Lost or Twin Peaks, or for those of you really old, like Who Shot JR. It's like it's this constant mystery. I can't figure out what's going on, and it's like I can't look away. I'm very curious. I mean, I think we'll eventually figure out what's going on over the next couple of months and even years, but right now it's just a very big mystery, and we're only getting bits and pieces through very small, glimpses into the company, and I got to talk about it because man, it is insane what's going on here.
It is. I think, when we talk about Hasbro as a company, though, I think we have to start with a baseline understanding. If you want to talk about corporate performance.
Yes.
Which is to say, bearing in mind some strange peaks, their stock has been on a downward slope since mid 2021.
But all stocks were down last year.
Fair enough. But I think what you have to understand is Hasbro is a company that benefited, in my personal opinion, I think most analysts would agree with this, benefited greatly from the pandemic.
A huge amount. All gaming did, actually.
All gaming did. Right?
Yes.
A huge amount. And you had this trifecta of and even local game stores. I remember the first time I went into one of my local game stores, and I'm good friends with the owner, the proprietor, and I said, "Hey, like, how is because my business? I was a photographer. I went out of business during the pandemic, and I said, how have you been doing?" He goes, "This is going to be the best year we've ever had, times 10." Because like product has just been sailing off of our shelves. Everything. I can't keep anything in stock. Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, board games, RPGs, you name it. It's just all being sold. And it as a business, it's tough, right? You want to be where the puck is going, not where the puck is at, right? You want to hire in advance of growth, right? You don't want growth to be stymied because you didn't have the personnel, the manpower in place in order to accept and deliver on that growth. So if you're Hasbro, and I think a lot of people had this pie in the sky view that, the reign of, stimulus checks and people staying at home instead of going on vacations was going to be just the new norm. And a lot of these companies, I think, got very optimistic, overly optimistic, probably, to the detriment of their shareholders. But ultimately, I think what we're seeing is a corrective nature to that. On top of that, so I have like 3 prongs. I just want to get my 3. That's first prong. Second prong.
Oh my God.
Second prong is I think we're just at that phase of the D&D lifestyle. I've said this on my stream, where I think that you had a lot of people come into the hobby because of Critical Role, Stranger Things, the zeitgeist, and they were like, "Oh, this is fun. I want to be part of it." And the bloom is off the rose, right? Like, they were never going to be lifetime gamers. They've been through enough. They've maybe done a campaign or 2 or 3, and they're just like, "Yeah, I don't really want to watch season 3 of Critical Role, or, oh, they're playing D&D again in Stranger Things. That's cool. I remember when I bought the box set after season 1, right?" Like, they were never going to be a lifetime customer of the game, and they've kind of just moved on. And then the third thing, I think there's been building for a long time, especially within the D&D community, this unspoken subconscious resentment of the brand, because I think a lot of people deep down were mad about D&D. They were mad about the way the game was being structured and handled and developed and balanced and all this other reasons. But their own mind or the realities of their situation wouldn't let them leave the brand. And it was like, like the little crack that released that sort of pent up anger that these people have had for this brand. Now, I think we saw that in droves during the last couple of weeks. And so I think that those 3 things stacking on top of each other have been sort of what we've been seeing over the last few months, and especially the last, month and a half. Mm-hmm. But does that mean that Hasbro is in trouble? I don't know. It's a big company.
Well, I'm going to tell you they are, and I'll tell you why. Okay. So here's the thing. I was thinking about this a lot, is that, okay, you're younger than me, but when I was a kid,
okay,
you would go to Toys R Us or KB.
Oh, yeah. Dude, KB Toys?
Yeah.
Toys R Us? Okay.
Yeah.
We're around the same
So
page
we're still
then.
around. Yeah, because that still was around back then.
Yeah.
And, there was only a couple. There was like Hasbro, there was Kenner, there was Mattel, and they ruled the roast. They did everything, man. And you would go and they had physical products that you would buy. There was actual toys and action figures and cars and board games. Like, they actually had physical products. And they are in this very difficult spot where in just about 10 years, very quickly, toys have become, I wouldn't say obsolete, but there's about 10 trillion competitors out there now. Like there's a,
Sure.
if you go to Amazon, you can't believe how many small mom and pop shops and like innovators come out with toys, So there's, in the old days, there was very hard to get into distribution channels. You had to actually get into a store and get a distributor. So there was only a couple competitors and that's it. So what did they have to worry about? Not really that much. And they can have, their cake and eat it too.
Right.
Now there's tons of channels of distribution. There's tons of competition. And on top of that, kids now use iPads. I mean, and like they just use digital products and they don't buy as many toys as they used to.
Correct.
And then more importantly, Toys R Us going out of business, that was the beginning of the end. When that happened, I was like, oh boy.
Right.
Oh boy. Like that is when you start losing channels of distribution.
Right.
In business school, you learn that is the death knell. That is the beginning of the end because you can't get your products out. How do people buy them?
Now, I assumed, because I remember when that happened, we had a Toys R Us near me that closed, and I remember just assuming they're all just buying them off of Amazon.
They buy them. They buy a lot at Kmart. Well, Kmart doesn't exist anymore. They buy a lot at Walmart. They buy a lot at Target. Those are kind of the places where people buy things now.
Sure.
They do buy things at Amazon, but the problem with Amazon is Hasbro toy is next to my toy. Okay, it's like I have as much shelf space as they do,
Right.
And that's a problem. That's a problem for these companies. They don't want that. They do not want mom and pops or small companies to have as much. I actually worked, and I know I always go back to things I did, but look, I can only go by what I experienced, and I worked with Toys R Us once. And believe it or not, remember, I don't know if you guys remember this. Remember Toys R Us used to be on Amazon? I actually worked on that account when Toys R Us, on the beginning, they really wanted to get online and they couldn't figure out how to get online. So they partnered with Amazon to get online really quickly. And then eventually they got their own storefront up and everything. And it was really interesting meeting with Toys R Us because they were all about, because they're a physical brand, of making as much money on the shelf as possible. So they had to really maximize shelf space. And that still exists in supermarkets and stuff. And if you watch Shark Tank, you'll hear this all the time. Like, it's like shelf space. The problem is now everyone shares the shelf with Hasbro. And that's a big problem. This is all going to tie back to the WoTC stuff.
And going back to the WoTC stuff, but going back to the parent company, right?
Yeah.
They did cut jobs, but if you look in the release and in some of the analysts, right, those jobs were all in the toy division.
Yes.
Right. Because I mean, I think everyone understands it, and we've heard, I think it was Ryan who said, right, that listen, in terms of revenue, Wizards of the Coast may not be the most revenue element of Hasbro. It might be, but in terms of profit, it definitely is, right? You have to, so there could be no doubt that, their toy division or whatever other divisions are under that sort of, Grandpa Hasbro umbrella, they might be making a lot of money, but they're spending a lot of money to do it. So, it's net zero. Magic the Gathering is literally printing $10 bills for pennies. It's a fantastic business model. And, I think we have to separate in some way, even though they're owned. I think, we, much like, what is it, Alta Capital or whatever, Alta Fox Capital, we have to sort of separate WoTC from Hasbro. And I understand because a company can be misstructured, mismanaged, have bad, debt agreements, have bad payoffs and all this other stuff that could affect things like stock price and corporate, job cuttings and missing earnings and all that other nonsense. But, in terms of the division of Wizards of the Coast, in terms of the production of Magic the Gathering and the production of Dungeons and Dragons, I almost think that's like kind of a separate conversation in some way. I don't know.
By the way, someone in Super Chat that said, Mitt Romney killed KB Toys, and people are like, "What? Is that true?" Yeah, that's actually 100% true. And
Was it like a Bain Capital
yes,
restructure?
Bain Capital, and that's how Toys R Us was bought out. Boy, Toys R Us
Oh, that's crazy.
was like not only a really strong company, they had an amazingly strong balance sheet. They paid their employees very well. They had incredible benefits. And then what happened is these private capital firms buy out these companies. They load them up with debt.
Right. And then they bankrupt them.
And then they bankrupt them.
Yeah.
And they do this. And that's Bain Capital did this with KB Toys. And I forgot who did it, but the same thing happened with Toys R Us. They literally buy these companies and then destroy them. It's mind-boggling. You can look this up. I won't get into it, but that is true. It's because someone's like, "Is that true?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's 100% true." But the thing is that so you have a company, Hasbro, that's making physical products that has to transition to a digital world.
Yeah.
So how do you do that, right? And there's the thing. I did this maybe 9 months ago, or maybe even a year ago. Me and Mark, I went through, and I was saying back then, which is it's so quaint now, all of like less than a year ago, that WotC and Dungeons and Dragons and Magic is mostly responsible for how much money Hasbro made, and people were like, "No, that can't be. No way."
Hasbro's this revenue is different than earnings, right?
Right, but that's what matters. And what happened with that whole thing is that with Alta Fox is that they went through, and if you look through, and this is all public, go look and download their corporate earnings reports. They never mention Wizards. They barely mention Magic the Gathering, and they barely mention D&D. This is why I don't trust them, by the way, because they were hiding all along how well this company was doing. And they've been doing this for years. Okay, so none of this is something that people are starting to wake up to. Like, wait, this company's lying to us? And like, hey, they've been lying for years. Everyone's just finding out now. And it's all been public. They have been hiding how much money those companies made because they kept making more and more money, and they were propping up their toy divisions, the other divisions. Alta Fox last year, and again, it's all public, right around now in February, said, "Hey, we did the math, and we figured out that WotC is worth $100 a share and Hasbro is worth $0 a share.
Right.
Therefore, you should break off WotC as its own company because it's pulling down the rest of the company. Sure. And here's our plan." And they went to war with Hasbro. They
tried to do a hostile takeover.
Oh, they tried a semi-hostile. They basically they owe 3.5% of the company, which is not enough to really push them around, but it's like you need more like 5%. But there was enough for them to start telling them, like, you better listen to us because that's a lot. And they tried, but it didn't quite work. They didn't get exactly what they wanted. They wanted to put people who understood D&D and Magic on the board of directors. And they had a very good vision of what they wanted the company to become. And Hasbro's been hiding this for a while.
I'm not going to also pretend that Alta Fox's motivations were not driven by money. They also wanted to be able, by money. Yeah, I mean, they also wanted to be able to make a huge bank by doing that. Oh yeah,
they would have made a huge bank. But the point is that Hasbro has been hiding this, and after it came out, it turns out that Hasbro's WotC is doing something like 73% of the revenue. So basically, Magic and D&D is 2 out of 3. It's a 73 cents out of $1 being made at Hasbro's those two companies, and that's it. Which is way too much, considering how many other brands they have. It's way too much. So,
let's see. We have a
lot of super chats, but I'll get to those in a second.
All right.
So I will get to them. Don't worry, everyone. We're gonna get to your super chats. But the whole point is that this company is in, I believe, it's called a death spiral, and there's a lot of terms of death spiral, but
I don't know if I agree with that, Steven.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because I'll tell you why they're starting down that. Because the death spiral begins when they need to continuously grow.
Sure.
And they have to continuously start squeezing their current, people. And I looked this up and I was following this. First of all, there's been several financial articles, but here's the thing. They are starting to package their toys and their Transformer toys and other toys in boxes that are not see-through. They're making them kind of like blind boxes, so you can't see what you're buying. And a lot of the fans, like the Transformer fans, are pissed. And then the Nerf fans, they're pissed because they supposedly, I've been just watching these videos, they're like, the Nerf reviews have been getting terrible reviews. Supposedly the bullets aren't as good and they don't hit as well and they're not as good as like third-party products. So the people who are really into these brands are saying that these products are shoddy, they're not great, the paint jobs aren't good, and they're blind boxing us. So even they're getting angry. I'm like, dude, they're having anger everywhere. It's
Right.
like everyone's angry with them.
Yeah, so let me just say this, sort of echoing the sentiments of Ms. Cynthia Williams, right?
Yes.
Who famously claimed that the D&D brand was undermonetized.
Right.
I've been playing Magic the Gathering for a very long time, and in a standard year, for many, 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 many years in Magic the Gathering land, you would have something like 4 to 5 core sets that would come out in a calendar year, and you might get a couple of additional secret layers. And that was really, and you might get like one special set.
Right,
so,
right.
A set every 2 months, give or take, plus a couple extra secret layers. And they did this for a very long time. I'm talking about decades. And at some point, right, we've obviously reached peak saturation in 2022, but even over the last few years before the pandemic, they started adding, right, to their product offering and more exclusive things, Worlds Beyond, where they started doing the product tie-ins to Walking Dead and Transformers and Street Fighter, and now there's a Lord of the Rings set coming out here in a few weeks. And they started doing the ultra premium packaging. They started doing the Modern Masters sets and the Mythic Horizons, where they could sell you essentially old cards that now had a market value on the secondary market and sell it to you as a piece of cardboard, newly printed, but for $15 or $20 a pack. And these things sold so well that I'm sure that it'd be like if I had a bakery, I don't know, and I sold muffins and I made 20 muffins every day and they all sold out and I sold them for $5. And then one day I go, well, what if I make 30 muffins and those sell out? And then I make 40 muffins and those sell out. At a certain point, you have to say, how long have I been not getting this money from my customer base that I could have been getting for decades? And I think there was probably maybe a corporate idea of, let's find out what the ceiling is.
No, yeah, they're 100% right.
I think their idea was, we don't want to leave any money on the table.
Right.
Now, Magic the Gathering, I think, pushed as far as they could push until community backlash started to sort of murmur up. My guess is they'll probably pull back a little bit because they feel like feel like they've found that spot. Now, am I quote unquote mad at a company for trying to get every dollar it can out of its consumers? I mean, I guess yes, no. I mean, like, that's just what companies do. I mean, especially corporations that are publicly traded. So being a publicly traded company is dangerous. It's fantastic for raising capital, but then you're at the whim of the responsibility to share.
Yeah, they came out with the D&D set, and they said that was their best-selling set of all time.
And it was horrible.
Oh, I like the pictures. I never played with it, but it looked great. Oh, was it terrible?
Yeah, the gameplay was terrible. But it was, and I hate to say this is the other side of it, a ton of fan service. They did these special cards that looked like they were old first edition books. And those were fantastic. I loved them. Opening up every pack was like I would be giddy. The Displacer Beast. I know what that is. It was like the Dungeons and Dragons movie trailer, right? Which was just designed to make people go, oh, turn to their their friend or their spouse who doesn't know shit about. That's an owlbear, the gelatinous cube, right? Like, it's designed just to make you feel like a dork, and it succeeded. So so all I'm saying is, I think that they felt like they were leaving money on the table. And I think, obviously, this thing was handled very poorly from the D&D perspective and the OGL perspective. But I'm sure that those conversations said, hey, We were leaving this much money on the table for Magic for years. And they're going to say, we have owned the Dungeons and Dragons brand since 1999 or 1998 or whatever. How much money have we been leaving on the table?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. And you know this. I mean, you probably know this. It takes, I think, the development cycle for Magic cards is 2 years.
2 years.
So it takes them a while. They can't just decide, you know, it's like it takes so long to get the Magic cards out that now we're starting to see all the cards coming out from the D&D, you know, selling out. You know, we're seeing the Doctor Who set come out and the Lord of the Rings set come out and the Transformer sets come out. But you know what I don't understand is that, like, they had their Transformers card game, which everyone loved.
I remember that for the brief millisecond that it existed.
Everyone loved it. It was supposed to be, I played a little, it was fantastic. It had amazing cards. There was cards like this big. It was so well done. They canceled it. I'm like, you can't trust this. I'm like, why? I mean, maybe,
Steven, that's why I don't watch TV shows anymore either, because I don't trust them. I don't trust them. I'm like, you're
I don't trust
cancel
them either unless they finish. I'm the same way. I'm like,
if a show completely finishes, you know, then I'll watch it.
But you know what? It was a $1,000 set. People are like, was it the $1,000 set? I'm like, you better believe it was the $1,000 set, and because they broke a covenant with people like me and Derek. I mean, I have the power. I have the power. That's He-Man.
We're going old school
toys
now.
Super old school. But I got the power, man. They're freaking. You know, I've had it for 30 years. Those cards, literally since 1993, and now they're messing with what they said. They said we will never.
It is not a functional reprint because it is an illegal tournament card proxy.
Shit. They said they will never reprint it, and they had that. They said that for 28 years in a row.
Yes, Mark Rosewater is Mark Rosewater is famous for saying they will never be reprinted in any form ever. And
I used to listen to his podcast all the time, which is a very good podcast.
The Drive to Work podcast.
Yeah, his Drive to Work podcast. And
I listen to it every week.
I still don't listen to it anymore, but he's really good, and I love listening to him. He's very interesting. He's very smart. He's been there since the beginning. And he knows the whole lore and history. Like, he is a true gamer. I guarantee he probably was, if he was dead, turning in his grave, turning in his car. That how dare they release that $1,000 set? Well, it makes him and everyone look bad, and now you can't trust them.
Well, you know, he's got bosses too, Steven. We can't all be you, right? We can't all be lords of the universe who just puppet master our way through things and watch other people dance at our beck and call. Okay, some of us have bosses, and you know, we.
I have bosses. I have clients.
Okay, well, it's a little different.
It's a little different.
But yeah, I mean, Mark Rosewater has bosses as well, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's got to be you know, it's got to be very tough working in one of those places, and this includes Paizo, right? Where you have you have two things, right? Two responsibilities. I feel like I'm imagining if I worked at D&D, right? And I've worked for big corporations, not gaming, like insurance companies, right? Horrible.
Well, insurance companies, that's the type of gaming.
Okay.
That is gaming.
Okay. And I understand that they are paying me money, a good amount of money to help them grow their bottom line, acquire market share, right? That is and look, it's if I'm not helping them do that, I'm stealing the money from them.
Yes.
But if I worked at a place like D&D, like if I worked at WoTC, I would also have this other responsibility, which is I am a shepherd of a legacy. I am a guardian. I am a steward of a brand, of an idea that has existed for 50 years. And very, you know, it's going to be around after I'm dead, or certainly after I'm gone out of this company. And it's got to be tough to be like thinking about my paycheck and my fiduciary responsibility as an employee to my company, but also my responsibility to whatever this thing is that, you know, we want to call D&D or Pathfinder 2 or role-playing games. You know, I don't envy, you know, any of those people in that position. And I think that for a long time, Wizards of the Coast, especially their D&D brand, it was sort of run by people who were more stewards of the game and less, stewards of the company, if we could put it that way. And I think, honestly, I think Hasbro didn't care, because I don't think that they saw that there was very much money or potential, maybe even in the brand. And then when the tides changed and the wind shifted, suddenly they realized there was a lot of money there left on the table. And now suddenly you have employees who, quite frankly, they don't know how to live in this world of being a corporate employee for a brand that has historically been very unmonetized and very, not very corporate involved. And that's why I think we've seen Wizards of the Coast, because like, whether you agree or disagree, well, I think everybody disagreed with the OGL thing, but like, whatever you feel about it, you have to admit that was handled in about the worst possible way that you could possibly handle anything, like, without a doubt, right? It's completely nonsense.
So I'm gonna read you my absolute favorite quote of all time, which I feel we're living.
Then we'll do
some super chats. And by the way, if you have any super chats, feel free to chat away. We'll answer them now. I like to go a little bit in and talk, otherwise we don't get like a flow going. But
yeah, he does.
I do. You go right into super chats.
I go right into the super chats.
I like to get the flow going.
But you get hundreds and now thousands of people. I don't, so I have a little bit more luxury on my hands.
So my absolute favorite quote of all time, Oscar Wilde. There are only two tragedies in life. One is not getting what one wants, and the other is getting it.
Yeah.
And that is so true, because this is it's happening again. I feel like especially in geekdom, it's like we've always wanted. We
want acceptance.
We wanted acceptance, and we wanted mainstream appeal, and we are getting it.
100%.
This is what happens when you get to mainstream appeal. Now you have people paying attention, and it's terrible.
Look, and I have said this before, and I will continue to espouse this. I don't want to seem gatekeepy, because obviously I think gaming is fantastic. I think it's the best, most fun hobby that you can engage in, and I think it's fantastic to grow and to learn and to explore and a million other things. So I think it's like almost like a psychological tool as well. That being said, there are times when I kind of missed it when it was not cool. Because no one cared about Wizards of the Coast when it wasn't making any money, right? Because it was some dinky little company making, not even maybe making $100 million a year, or making $50 million a year,
when they did the Willow series, I was like, that's it. They're scraping the absolute bottom of the geek barrel. I love Willow. And Willow was released at a very interesting time. It was one of the first movies. It was the second movie ever to use CGI and morphing. It was the first movie that ever used morphing. And it was the second movie.
Finn Rizal,
right?
The sorceress,
right? And the first movie ever to use CGI was Young Sherlock Holmes, but this was like the second or third. And it's a very interesting movie in a lot of ways. And they freaking did I didn't watch the series. Supposedly the series is excellent. I didn't watch it, but it's fascinating that they brought something back that's like 35 years old. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is to get something greenlit? It's like nearly impossible.
Absolutely not, because you know what they do? They go back, okay?
They have formulas. They figure it out.
They go back and they go, okay, what's our core demographic? Okay, it's 35 to 55-year-olds. Okay, let's go back. What was beloved in their childhood, right? Okay, we'll repackage this. We'll ship this out. We'll stick a limited edition Disney or Amazon or whatever series on it. And you know what? All those people who are now making, they're in the prime of their life, making great money. They're going to go out and they're going to buy, they're going to consume, they're going to spend all their money, right? That's just the formula, right?
Yeah.
Like just rinse and repeat. All right, super chats.
Yeah. And people, by the way, say Willow. Yeah, I've heard it's excellent. Somebody else just said it's trash.
I must say,
and now said it's amazing. We got everyone here.
I have heard mixed reviews.
I've heard mixed. But then again, I'm the one. I love The Mandalorian. I know a lot of people hate it. I freaking love it. I can't get enough of it. Captain Ryle, the Brass Dragon. Oops. went away. The sent $10 super chat. The moderation of the
It's
official
Captain Relic.
Oh, Relic. Sorry, I need my glasses. Captain Relic. The moderation of the official D&D Discord is awful. People have been given unfair warnings and bans over criticizing WoTC. Why should I support a company that gatekeeps me because I criticize them? Yeah, I've been hearing that they have been getting very, very ban hammer heavy over there. That if you mentioned OGL or anything, they're just bam, they get rid of you very quickly.
I would say it is a private company. They are free to do whatever they want to do. If you don't agree with that, you should not support them.
Yes.
I mean, that's what I would.
Yeah.
Now, by the way, I'm not saying that you shouldn't support Wizards of the Coast. I'm simply saying if you feel that is a reason not to support them, that is a perfectly valid reason not to support them. But my response to you, Captain Relic, would be that, and Steve and I were talking about a little bit of this before we went live. D&D, or insert your favorite TTRPG brand here, but D&D especially. It's very passionate for a lot of people, and it starts to become part of your identity, right? And when people get banned, or when people get the company does something you don't agree with, it can start to feel like, hey, you're not allowed to do that. Like, D&D doesn't belong to you, right? Because you're like, you feel like it belongs to you. And that's not true, but it feels like it is. Although I should argue that now that it's part of Creative Commons, it kind of belongs to all of us. But I think that I understand that people get very passionate about this. And I think that you are right to voice your concerns. And I think it is sad if they're being presented in a very mannered and measured fashion. But if the company as a whole does not want to respond to those concerns, or they think that they are not worth concerning themselves with, and you feel like that is a reason to take your money or your patronage elsewhere, pass off, do it.
Getting a lot of interesting things here. We have people. Oh, by the way, people said, personally, I think Andor was among the best Star Wars series of all time. Let me tell you something.
I haven't seen a single Star Wars TV show, so I recuse myself. Andor
isn't the best Star Wars series of all time. It's one of the best things ever filmed on TV of all time. It is a master.
To be clear,
masterpiece.
That's the TV show about the secondary character from the secondary movie.
It is. Yeah, but it is. I could do hours on this. Well, I'm very much into script writing. I'm very much into movie making. I'm very much into the process. From a script writing point of view, and there's actually one of my favorite channels is, I think it's called Be Right, and he does incredibly detailed, on writing, and he does very detailed script analysis. Within a week after Andor was recorded, he did an analysis, and he usually goes on for weeks or months later, and he did a live because he said, this is so good, I got to get my thoughts out before I forget, and he also did analysis. So if you are into script writing, into storytelling, this show might be one of the best I've ever seen, ever. It is a masterclass of storytelling. It is incredibly well done. Now, it is slow, and it has some ebb and flows, but that's not where the master class is. It's in the actual script writing and the structure. And they have 12 episodes, but there's three act structures of 4 distinct plots. So it's actually first, second, third act, and then that ends, and then first, second, third act, and that ends, first, second, third, and then first, second, third. So it's 4 3-act structures in a 12-hour episode, all tied together. Masterpiece. Anyways,
moving on.
That has nothing to do with Hasbro, but if you're going to watch something, if you can only watch one thing, watch that. So good.
You got Pilgram Media?
We had Mad Bunny Art sent to, and he said, this is what we were talking about, Mark. It said, like Derek, so far Year of Monsters has been excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, the Stepho, who are next, and those are the snake people. And I put a few icons up, the graphics, you can see. I don't think some of these are new. I think those are my favorite. But believe it or not, so far, there's not a lot of information on them, but they're very interesting because they're only 100 years old. So that ties into the lore that they're so new that they're still finding their place in the world, and it's very interesting. It's a very interesting ancestry, and the snakes are in their hair are not part of them. They can't control them. So it's a very fascinating ancestry. I'll leave it at that.
They must suffer from a lot of insomnia.
No, I think the snakes go to sleep when they do. But their snakes can be like their pets. Like they have their pets on their head. It's funny. Then it's Pilgrim Media. So
got it. Pilgrim Media, who apparently either duplicated us or whatever, said you're correct. They don't want competition. I'm not sure what they're talking about there, but I think they were talking about the toys being run out of business and stuff like that. I mean, to a certain extent. Yeah, I mean, businesses don't want competition. I mean, kind of. I mean, right? Like they want all of the money that their competitors are making. I mean, there's a certain amount of sense that says, like, look, I can't serve the needs of all of my customers, but in the modern kind of business mindset, I mean, I think you want to grow, and that means crushing your competition.
Oh,
then they followed up with that we should short Hasbro. Listen,
you know what? Don't do that.
Well, listen, if somebody wants to buy some puts, we can get this thing going on Wall Street Bets.
You know what? The problem with shorting, so right now they're saying, so some of the people downgraded Hasbro and said they should be about $40 a share. I think they're actually worth like $25 a share personally.
Do you know what their earnings, do you know what their earnings per share is?
It's really high. It's like 44. Which is, and they're probably not going to, and they're vesting a lot. That's the other problem. So right now, back to the main topic, they're trying to move their entire company from one type of business to another. They're trying to go from a toy manufacturer to a digital company. And that's very hard to do. And it requires a huge amount of capital. So because of that, because you need so much capital, they had to buy D&D Beyond, which was $146 million. They're investing hundreds of millions of dollars into their online BTT. They have a lot of expenses coming up right now. So they're going to be putting out some pretty bad numbers for a while.
I mean, okay, I'm looking here. Their current, I don't know how up to date this is, but it says that their current, February 8th. Okay, so their current price to earnings ratio is 19. And basically what that means is if you take the value of their stock and then you divide it by how much money the company makes, you're basically paying 19.
Right. That's 19. Way too high.
The PE. It said at the end of the PE.
Well, what's their forward PE?
Oh, the forecasted? I don't know. This is their current PE.
All right, let me look it up.
I'm just saying, it means you're paying $19 today to get $1 of earnings every year going forward. Okay. I mean, that feels...
no, that actually would be okay, but I thought it was much worse than that from what I heard. Because the article says that they're way too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, their current PE is 19.26. Now, at the beginning of 2022, Stephen, it was 30.
Yeah, but the thing is, they're not. Wait, what's their stock symbol?
HAS.
Has been.
Yes.
Market cap.
Hasbro's going to be around for a long time.
Oh yeah, you're right. It says the PE ratio is 19.2.
Yeah.
And earnings per share is 2.98. But they were going down. Ooh, they have a big short interest.
I'm just saying they might have been overpriced. I don't know. I feel like it's corrected. I don't know. Either earnings went up or price went down. Either way, it feels more in line. I mean, I still think it's a little aggressive, but
did they actually put out earnings tonight?
No,
they did not. No. Wait, no, let's see. No, it did. They did.
They dropped earnings today?
Let's see. It says Mattel profits fell short 4 minutes ago.
Okay.
Wait, see. Or Wednesday. It said adjusted earnings for the fourth quarter dropped 66% from a year ago, 18 cents a share. The expectation was 29. Revenue was 1.4 billion. Analysts expected 1.68 billion. Company said higher priced items took a hit. Worldwide gross billings, the amount invoiced to customers for adjustments from Barbie. The Barbie brand declined 33%. Prices on Mattel's website run as high as $275 for the fanciest playset. Fisher Price and Thomas and Friends declined 33%. Hot Wheels increased by 8% because they're increasing the prices up to $75 per Hot Wheel set. Used to be like $1. Let's see.
Again, they're this. I mean, I think I've seen this in chat a couple times, but this is kind of the.
This is Mattel. This is Mattel. Yeah, I was like, wait, that all sounds wrong. Okay, sorry. I was like Mattel, but you know what? Yeah. It's okay because Mattel and Hasbro, the two will work, and it's very rare that one will do very well and one will do poorly.
Hasbro's next earnings is February 16th.
Oh, okay, so I could do this again.
So next week.
Next week.
Yeah. So next week. So the consensus is that the earnings per share is going to be 1.29. So the question is, it's going to be.
Yeah, but they already dropped it. Wait, here we go. Let's see. Let's see. Is it game over for Hasbro stock? So the Motley Fool said, basically.
I don't trust the Motley Fool, but all right.
Oh, I do. Let's see. Well, this is just facts. They have nothing. They're just saying. Here we go. They said, how badly is business going for Hasbro? Well, there's good news and bad news, and then more bad news. Let's see. Here it is. The good news is that Hasbro is still, at least the fourth quarter 2022, enjoying, quote, strong growth with Wizards of the Coast and digital gaming, Hasbro Pulse, and our licensed business, unquote. The bad news is that Hasbro's consumer products business, which is toys and, board games, quote, underperformed in the fourth quarter, unquote, explains CEO and former Wizards of the Coast boss Chris Cox. And they said they predicted fourth quarter sales will be down 17% over a year. So that's one thing. They'll report an operating loss and a net loss from $93 to $1 a share. And yeah, they're in trouble. And they also said that
I'll tell you what, if they miss earnings and their price tanks,
they're already missing.
I'm buying. How about that?
I wouldn't.
I'm buying.
I wouldn't.
I will go long.
I will definitely not go long on them. You know why? Because it's like there's so many things. Like, here we go. Oh, and then it has the whole thing about, hey, what do you know? The whole thing about the OGL fiasco. It's like, and the person who actually wrote this, they definitely knew what they were talking about. Maybe they went through it all. Then they said, sound harsh? WotC's customers thought so. Quick as a magic missile, Hasbro's moves sparked a rebellion among WotC's most ardent fans, creating weeks of negative publicity for the company on social media. Quick as a magic missile. I love that.
I mean, it is quick, so I can't.
It was insanely quick. But they said here, so they said right now, this being the case, it defies explanation that Hasbro is somehow managing to already cover all of its losses from last week's news. And once again, it's trading 44 times its 2022 earnings, that of a pre-announcement. So I think the numbers are off because they were using last year's. I have to look at it closely. But the point is that they have to pivot from one to another. And these years are going to be very, very, very painful. I mean, look, they bought that television studio, and they bought it for $4 billion in cash, and now they're selling it, and they've only had it a few years.
Well, they had to do something with all that money.
Well, they're trying to get them. They're trying to sell it, and they're trying to get the $4 billion back, and they can't get it. Like, no one wants it, so that's the problem. It's like, so without what?
Have Paizo buy it.
They don't have $4 billion. And not only that, they don't want it. They don't want it. They actually had some pretty good shows. They have Yellow Jackets. They actually were doing okay as a company. And I think they're the ones who also helped with the D&D movie and obviously Paramount. But it's just that they are trying to transition into a digital
service company.
Yeah, digital service company.
Because that's the future, Steven.
I know. And it's
books and toys and stuff. You know what books and toys are going to be for in the future? Like wealthy collectors who have too much money.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's just they are turning D&D. They turned Magic into something it's not. And the Magic fans were angry. And then they tried to turn
the Magic fangs were angry as they continued to buy every single product that they made, and in record numbers. Like, you could talk your talk, but you need to walk your walk. Like, if you want to say you're done, then be done.
Yeah.
Walk away from the game and don't keep buying. Don't complain that you have to buy everything that they produce and that you're mad about it and they're ruining the game
buy everything.
while shelling out money for booster packs or secret lairs or limited edition releases or whatever other nonsense they're going to produce.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever it may be, I will say this. I think some people were a little gun crazy, just kind of like got crazy with the OGL thing. But I do have to say, I respect people who, they kind of put their money where their mouth was. They said, this is unacceptable. We are leaving the platform and we are going to go buy your competitor's game. And I'm going to start learning that game.
Well, it's happened. And more importantly, they lost, oh my God, they lost all their influencers. I mean, it's like a lot of them. I mean,
yeah, we'll see how many of those come back, though. I think it's going to be a lot, Steven.
I actually know it's not because...
Come on.
Well, I'll tell you why. Because, okay.
What, because they'll get killed in the court of public appeal?
No. Because these companies are now developing products for Pathfinder. And, okay, a good example, DM Dave. DM Dave is one of the biggest... he doesn't do any videos or anything, but it's a publisher. He has a monthly book, magazine that comes out, a $25. It's basically Dungeon magazine. And he is all about 5th edition. This is all he did. And, when this was all happening, he was like, I will never publish 5th edition ever again. I'm going all in on Pathfinder. And that is going to hurt them in the long run, because if you have the zeitgeist and you have the influencers start moving over to other game systems, they will move the market. And I mean, Bob, the world builder, when he got invited to, talk with Kyle, he's like,
no.
What's that?
Didn't he say no?
Oh, I don't know if he said no, but he's like, if you watch this video, he's like, this is the first email I think I've ever gotten from Wizards ever. His channel is huge, and that this is the first time they've ever contacted him, because they took all these people for granted. They just you have these people with hundreds of thousands of loyal followers who are coming out with content daily, weekly, constantly.
Yeah, that wasn't
promoting your product.
That wasn't making Wizards of the Coast any money.
Yes, it was. It was making them indirect money. It was making them soft money, and they didn't understand that. So they're like, well, did they help them out? Did they do anything to help them? No. If anything, they ignored them. They treated them with hostility. And then they're like, and Paizo, you can say a lot of things about Paizo, but oh my God, they will bend over backwards to help you out. They're incredibly supportive.
Well, they're a smaller company that probably needs more of that word of mouth advertising.
Yeah, but you know what? Yes and no.
D&D,
it's still run by gamers. Yeah, but it's run by gamers. Lisa Stevens, who still owns it, she was the first employee of Wizards of the Coast of all time. She is a super geek. And
look, I'm not
her house is a temple to Star Wars. She is as geeky as you get.
I'm not. Listen, as a geek,
yes,
who runs a business,
yes,
badly, I get where the inherent fun and excitement of that comes from. But if I had people that were investing in my channel or company, I would be like, you are a foolish person, because I shouldn't be running a business and you shouldn't be trusting me with your money, because I make decisions out of passion and out of emotion and out of what I like and out of what I don't like. I don't make sound financial decisions. Okay. I somehow wrote myself into now having to build a custom game table and deliver it literally across the country to San Diego, which is insane. Now, why am I doing that? Because I'm not a good business person.
No, because you're passionate. You're passionate, and you enjoy it.
And now you have what essentially seems to be a bunch of passionless ghouls running Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro. Supposedly with these people who backgrounds from, Microsoft and other digital platform goods that write the whole, Chris Cow has never played D&D, but he's in charge of D&D.
Someone said Wizards, by the way, it's public. It's a subsidiary of Hasbro, which is a public corporation.
Yeah, well, of course.
No, someone didn't know. Someone asked that in the super chats. And
yeah, we still got other super chats.
Yeah, let's go back. So
right.
Let's see. William Brandis.
No, I think we had one before that. I think we had Ben.
Oh, Ben. Ben's like, nothing to add, just enjoying the conversation, $10.
So Ben is one of our top patrons over at Knights of the Last Call Discord, and he enjoys a nice RPG / business philosophy discussion as good as much as anybody. So Ben is.
By the way, people are wondering. People are like, "Where's Mark right now?" Mark is working. Although I see
Steven doesn't have to pay me, so he's like, Derek.
Except for one problem, Mark is having a very active conversation with Ronald the Rules Lawyer on the Discord that I'm part of. So I'm like watching you and reading this conversation. So I'm like, guys,
I am dialed in.
Stop working on that. Work on your ancestries. Who's next? William? You want to do William?
Yeah. So, William Brandis is Aaron Smith, who's a member of Knights of the Last Call.
Yeah.
Actually, he's the one who was like, wow, watching Mark be so passionate about his work and his commitment to the game really inspired me. So Mr. Brandis says, whoa, who is this attractive and obviously knowledgeable guest? And random question, do they happen to have an awesome Discord and channel that talks about RPGs all day with other super invested folks? And how could I join that? Well, we do. It's Knights of the Last Call Patreon. Patreon.com/KnightsOfTheLastCall.
That's right.
You might not like us. But if you do like us,
oh my God, please join us. You'll probably hate us.
Look,
you're right. You are a bad businessman. You are bad at business. Bad at business.
Listen, I'm not going to try to sugarcoat this for you. We might tell you that your favorite feat or class is not a great feat or class.
And that's what I knew. You know what? I knew I made it when you liked the Battles of Bester. I was like, Derek likes it. Then I can hire Mark full time.
I'll pass on the Mater D, but I'll take the rest.
Mater D, I used it in a game. They hated it so much because they're like, "Stop healing everyone." I was like, when you have somebody who heals, and they're like, "Oh my God, that is worse than a caster. It's way worse than a caster."
Yes, I also just GM advice. I personally feel like you should avoid using foes or monsters that can heal themselves. I think it's a very
the heal is healing the other ones, and it's because it makes the fights very long.
That's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying.
It does. It makes the fights really long.
Don't do it.
Yeah,
you could do it, but
do it. Just be careful how you do it because it actually makes the fights super long, and it'll also use up a huge amount of resources from the PCs. Mighty Dave.
Also a Knights of the Last Call Patreon member.
Derek, Disney Plus, so we can watch Star Wars Fund.
It's going to him, Mighty Dave, not to me.
That's right. You don't get a cent.
I was going to sign up. I was going to sign up for Disney Plus to watch crap.
You're going to watch crap? Yeah, there's a lot of that on Disney Plus, let me tell you.
No, I wanted to watch some of the what was the newest Marvel show?
I don't know. There was a couple. There was
I don't know. There was one Marvel show that I thought sounded pretty interesting.
Yeah.
No, it was not She-Hulk. I don't remember. But point is, I don't know. I'm in a weird spot with Star Wars. I love Star Wars 4, 5, and 6. I was in high school when the prequels came out. Yeah, I mean, obviously.
I grew up with those.
And I'm one of the weird ones who likes Return of the Jedi more than Empire Strikes Back.
I love Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
I love it. I can totally defend it. I mean, it's a very 80s movie.
Sure.
But the ending with the 3 simultaneous battles.
Right.
Masterpiece.
Absolutely. And they tried to obviously up that in Phantom Menace.
4. Yeah, we talked about that.
Anyway. But the prequels were weird. I've come to loathe them, but at the time I was like, oh, I guess this is Star Wars, but I didn't fully appreciate it.
They got their moments, not the first one.
And then I thought,
they had moments.
And then I thought episode 7 was fine,
terrible.
Forgettable. I thought it was fine, but forgettable. But then 8 and 9 were just horrible.
Well, 8 is bad, but 9 is unwatchable.
Can I be honest with you? I thought 8 was horrible.
Oh, 8 was pretty bad, but 9 is unwatchable.
And then I watched 9.
Oh, right.
And now I kind of like 8 more.
Exactly.
I'll go back and watch. I'll watch Last Jedi again because Rise of Skywalker wasn't even a film. I don't even know how to describe how bad
it was. I can't even get into it. It's like,
Yeah,
they just happen to have all that. We can go on forever. I'm like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. It was so bad. It actually, what's the Simpsons episode? It's like, Milhouse saw something and it was so bad. He goes, "It made me hate Star Wars."
Yeah, it was.
That's what it did.
So between like those things, when all the shows started coming out, it's like my fandom had been dragged out back and shot. So I just didn't have it in me to watch the Mandalorian or Andor or Book of Boba Fett or any of those things that are coming out. So
Book of Boba Fett is not that great, but Mandalorian, it's really good.
More super chats.
Lollipop Candy.
Also, number of Knights Last Call, Dave Trio.
Oh, he said the Roll for Combat and Knights of Last Call crossover streams are always extra interesting to watch. I hope to see more. There you go. Well, Derek is always around, so that's why. It's actually mostly comes down to I can ask 20 people, and he's the only one who goes, I got nothing to do. I'll join you.
I am a single man who has no children, and I work from home, and, so yeah. Like,
and Derek and I have similar but different opinions. Just similar enough, but just different enough.
Right, exactly.
And we also have extremely strong opinions, which works well.
Right.
Who's this one? Is this another one of yours?
No, that's not one of mine.
I haven't seen this one. Just Benia?
Yeah, Just Benia.
$5. Ginny D. Kyle Brink interview. He states the new OGL was supposed to be a click-through license. That's even worse. Why admit that?
Why not? At this point, let it all out. Just
you know what? Okay, so here's my take. I don't believe anything they say. I don't believe anything Kyle says is true. I just don't believe anything. And the thing that bothered me the most was
the most okay
of everything they've been saying is they keep saying that the OGL was a draft. So about 2 hours ago, I called my lawyer and I asked him, I said, let me find out once and for all, why do they keep saying it's a draft? Okay, why? And he said, okay, technically it could theoretically be, because he says, say this is what happens, because I get contracts all the time. He's like, you get a contract, you give it to me, and the client expects you to sign it, but then I look at it and I redline it. Redline's where he goes through and fixes it and says, I don't like this, I don't like this, I think this. We then take the red line, I send it back to their attorneys, and I say, fix all these items. If you want to discuss them, call me or call my attorneys and we'll discuss with you. And then usually we go back and forth a few times until we finally come out with a contract that both our sides like, and then I sign it. So in theory, he's like, technically, any contract could be considered a draft because you expect to go back and forth. Here's my problem. Here's my problem with that. I know for a fact these were not drafts. How do I know that? Because I talked to the people at the time that they were getting these contracts. What happened? Right before Christmas, they were given these contracts and told, here's your contracts, sign them. No negotiation. There was no draft. There was no back and forth. And in fact, they only had like 2 weeks to sign it. And they're like, you don't give someone a contract on December 23rd.
Right.
And I mean, that is such a dick move to do this. I've seen it. It's been done to me.
Right. This is like when when Congress will try to pass a bill right before the holidays and everybody goes home for break, right? Like you're trying to sneak it in under the wire.
They were like, I'm like, what? I mean, they couldn't have. That is like, it's so messed up the way they did that.
I don't think Wizards of the Coast is going to go out of business, and I don't think, or Hasbro. And honestly, I think the vast majority, I really do believe this, the vast majority of Dungeons and Dragons players today still don't even know what an OGL is, and they maybe never seen it.
No one knows. No one knows. Yeah.
If we. And when I say we, I mean Steven, I mean me, but I also mean you, the person watching this, the person in chat right now. We're on Twitter. We're on Reddit. We're on Facebook, right? We're on the YouTube. We're on the Twitch. We're watching, content creators and influencers, and we're watching all this. This is we live in this microcosm, right? We live in this bubble where everybody's very informed and everybody is, has an opinion, and we're all shouting at each other in a loud mess. The vast majority of people playing D&D today, just like the vast majority, by the way, of people playing Magic the Gathering, they're just playing at home. It's not a big deal to them. They enjoy it. They buy a book every once in a while when they see it on Amazon, or when they go to their game store, they come in, they go, I see it all the time. I know the release, well, not as much anymore, I don't play, but when I was in Magic, I know the release schedule, when the next set is coming out.
Oh yeah, I was watching the previews. Okay. I loved it.
Okay. I see it all the time. I hang out at my local game store. They're friends of mine, the owner. And a person will come in, and the store owner will say, "Hey, how's it going, John?" And he goes, "Hey, how's it been? How's the wife? How's the kids? Oh, great. Hey, what are some of the new sets? Okay, oh, cool. I'll pick up 10 packs of that, 10 packs of that." All right. And then they buy and they walk, and they don't come back in the store for another 6 months. That's it. That is their engagement with the brand. They don't know anything else other than that. And that's the vast majority of people playing D&D today. So while I don't think that, most people playing D&D, I think were clueless about any of this. That being said, Wizards of the Coast handled this horribly. Like the sneaky draft, the OGL, the horrible language, we are the moral police who get to decide at whim whether something is acceptable or not. That language, like everything about this was handled very poorly. And I don't know. I mean, the only thing I can say is, like, my master plan. Maybe Wizards of the Coast never cared about the 5th edition license or the 3rd edition license or the OGL or any of that stuff. All they really wanted was a GSL for the 6th edition. And they knew that if they came out with a GSL for the 6th edition, people would bitch to the end of the universe. So instead, they mastermind this release. And maybe it got a little bit out of control. They didn't expect it to go this crazy, where everyone would get all up in arms about the old OGL, which Wizards of the Coast doesn't care about at all.
They're not that smart. You're like saying the people, when they released New Coke, remember when they released New Coke? They're like, oh, it was all on purpose. No, it was not on purpose.
And then while everybody's up in arms, because I actually saw this, by the way, I saw this happening all online, is people were saying, you got people, fervent fans of the brand, who were saying things like, look, with 6th edition, that's a new, they can do whatever they want. If they want to do a GSL for 6th edition, that's fine. That's their right. They can do that. They can put whatever terms they want, right? They almost made it. It was like a poison pill. They got people to be so mad about the 5th edition, 3rd edition thing that Wizards of the Coast didn't care about, that they got people to almost defend them making a 6th edition GSL, and now we're going to get a 6th edition GSL, I'm assuming.
Oh God, yes.
And then Wizard of the Coast went, all right, okay, guess what? You got us. Here you go. Creative Commons, OGL 1.0A is fine. Drop everything about 1.1, 1.2, 2.0, whatever. 1.0A is perpetuity. We're also going to just, boom, put that into Creative Commons. Look at that. You got it. And then everyone's like, yeah. Okay, and then Wizard of the Coast is like, okay, and 6th edition is going to be GSL, and everyone's like, yeah, right, no, that's totally fine, that's totally great, right? Like that. If they did that, my hat's off to them.
They did not, because like this is what happened. It's that. So back to what I was going at. It's like, and I see some chats. They said, did anyone sign the OGL 1.1? Supposedly, yes. Supposedly one or maybe two did sign it. So much for a draft, because someone signed it. And to continue my story, what happened is that they met, and I've said this before, they met with these publishers, and they said, here's the OGL 1.1, sign it. No one signed it.
Right.
Or one person. And then they brought more in, and then they had a second meeting. And they were very, very, very nervous about this coming out publicly. They did not want they were very scared to have this thing coming out in these meetings. I hear that they did not want anyone to know about this, because they wanted everyone to sign it, and then they were going to come out with the info, and then it would have been too late. And again, they had more people, and they said, here it is. No negotiation. No one signed it, or like one or two. Then there was a meeting right around January 6th, when this was blowing up, that they came back, and they actually said to these companies, well, what don't you like about the OGL? We're open to negotiation. Then they were open to negotiation. But from December 23rd to around January 6th,
Look,
7th, they were ironclad. This is what you must sign.
Yeah, they tried. Look, they tried.
But then you know what everyone said? Everyone said, I know. But then everyone said, the whole thing. I was like, none of it. We want none of it. And then that's when it started to blow up and go out of control.
Yeah, obviously.
But my point is like, they are lying. I mean, it's such a blatant lie. The whole thing, it's like, well, we don't want big companies to come in. That's why we had no. No, this is what happened. Is that
that line. That whole line is bullshit. Even I will not.
Oh my god!
We're trying to protect you from blockchain. It's like, shut up. You're so far up on your ass on that one. Like that is absolutely nonsense. That was probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen.
And Kickstarter negotiated, and I'm going to tell you someone who else who might have negotiated. I'm going to do a video on this that no one knows about. Are you ready?
I don't know, Steven. I can only take so much.
Well, I hate to break this to you, but Patreon. That's right. I know you're on Patreon. A lot of people are on Patreon. Did you see they updated the content rules of who owns what? That goes into effect March 20th, 2023. It's significantly updated. And it is very similar to the OGL 1.1 language.
Look, Steve, everybody's trying to get that paper, okay? Eggs cost $7 a dozen, all right? Like, WotC's got to eat their omelets too, okay? Patreon's got to have a nice sunny side.
I know, but it's I have a feeling the biggest thing is that in Patreon that there's a couple things in there, but if you look at the new contract, it actually states that if like you are creating something and someone like the parent company of who you're creating it for says you're not allowed to create it, then you can't create it. And Patreon could take you down.
Yeah. Well,
so that was a little interesting. Like, so I wonder who that might be.
So no, and again, I know we're got super chats backing up here, but the last thing I want to say is I think companies have come to the realization. I don't know if there was like a formal meeting of CEOs across America.
There is
for
Sun Valley Conference. I run the website.
But for right, wrong, or whether it's right or whether it's wrong.
Yes.
We live in a world of the court of public appeals, right? We live in the world of Twitter and Instagram and, it's the cancel culture. And, like you're held accountable for your actions now, which is not all, listen, it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it's a very good thing. But we also see that nowadays companies are being held accountable for the actions of people who are engaged with that company's product, right? Whether it's through a lawsuit or whether it's through, public outcry. And I'm assuming that Patreon is trying to protect themselves. They're trying to protect themselves from someone who would go and use the platform as a Patreon to say, set up some sort of hate group or some sort of, even a terrorist organization, which obviously a hate group is, but, or something nefarious and, or even just not outside the law, but of very, very bad taste and of horrible nature. And Patreon, sure, they want to be the good guys and say, we're trying to shut that down. But I think they're also trying to say is we don't want to be responsible for this. And I think there's a lot of people who would look at that and say, well, Patreon, we're going to hold you responsible for the actions of some of your members because they used your platform. And that was part of what Wizards of the Coast was trying to say, right? They were trying to say, we want to prevent people from making, whatever, the horrible book of horrible racists, and publishing that. And it's a D&D book, right? And I think what they're really worried about, more interested in it is protecting their brand. And they don't want to, have to bear any of those consequences either. So,
you want to look at some more super chats? By the way, subscribe. In fact, if we get, how many likes do we need to get Derek to sing? We're only up to 144, and we've had over 20, we do almost 3,000 views. Come on, people. We're not even going to get Eric to do a Kermit voice if we don't get at least 500 likes. We're
not singing today.
Oh, we're singing. We're singing. We're gonna have Kermit voice doing Hamilton.
No singing. No singing.
You see, there's a preview of what you can get. Derek is an excellent singer, by the way, and he does voices better than he's Critical Role quality. I'd say you're better than Critical Role. I'd say.
Oh my gosh, I'm blushing.
You are very. Your voices are superb.
Well, I was a very bored child and spent a lot of time by myself.
Yeah, I'm not good at that. I can write. Yeah, I know you can't write, but I can. I can.
You know
write.
what? that we all have ways of creative expressing ourselves.
Yeah, I'm not good at voices.
That is not my strength. Is the written word. That is very true. Yeah. All right, let's nail these super
Pilgrim
chats.
Media.
Again,
Pilgrim $2 super chat. How will the movie tanking affect them? It will devastate them.
I'll tell you this, and I don't want to spend too much time on this.
Yeah, I don't
want to get through the super chats. I will say this: I'm kind of sitting on the sidelines until we see how the movie does. If the movie does well, then I'm like, yeah, Hasbro Wizards Coast are going to be fine. They're going to double down on this media platform empire. The movie doesn't do well, or dare I say, even doesn't make back its budget plus marketing. Then I think we're into some interesting times, and I might revisit some of my opinions that I voiced today.
Here's the thing: I don't want the movie to tank, and Eric Mona went through this a lot better than I did. Because if the movie tanks, and I think Ryan Dancy said the same thing, then it brings down our whole hobby.
Absolutely.
So you want it to do well. You want it to do well. Look, because Lord of the Rings did so well, Lord of the Rings helped.
If you have enjoyed the saturation of fantasy in modern day media, hell, even the Marvel Cinematic Universe, over the last 20 years, it's because Lord of the Rings made a shitload of money and won a bunch of Oscars.
Record.
Right. It's the top one, right? They won the most.
It was like 13 in one year.
Nominated for 13, won 13 or something.
It was insane.
And it's because of that movie and that trilogy. So, if people see that this movie doesn't do well, then there's going to be a lot of people who say, okay, this isn't worth investing into. Now, between you and me, I would be okay with that. Like, let's
you want to live in a cave. Oh, you see, you're like, you don't disagree. I know you.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You and your dogs and your books. That's all you needed.
We have it all.
11 Oscars.
All right, next.
I thought it was 13, actually. Mike T.
I think I said 13.
I think someone said 11. I think it's 13. Mike T sent a $5 super chat. Early on the idea...
Also, Knights of Last Call Patreon member.
Early on the idea was that only 20% of 5e players, the DM, bought books. And if WotC chases one half away, but the rest pay, they win. Is that happening? Here's the problem. They are driving away... See, this is why canceling D&D Beyond subscriptions and losing the influencers is so bad.
It is 11. It was...
Oh, it's 11? No, I thought it was 13. Okay. We stand corrected.
We do stand corrected.
And I'm a big fan of the Oscars, by the way. Now I lost my train of thought. What was I talking about? Wait, let me go back. Right. Yes. So...
Oh, Mike T's super chat.
Yeah. As that the problem is that these are whales. These are heavy users. These are the big spenders. These are the people they want to keep. Is the people who subscribe. Especially a lot of these people were subscribers for 4, 5, 6 years. They were subscribers forever. They were never going to unsubscribe. They unsubscribe. Good luck getting them back. Okay, and it's like I think of it as like firing a bullet from New York to L.A. It's like by messing with these people, the trajectory is now changing, and it's going to take a while for you to start seeing the results. But it's going to happen because these people leaving the platform, they're not resubscribing, so it's going to go down. It's going to be very hard to get those people back. People now trying other systems, their eyes are being woken up because they're like, it's like people who, and I mean, I'm old enough to remember the first time I went to college and I saw people trying Chinese food for the first time, I mean, like, sure, they had American food, but they never tried, Asian food, or never tried sushi before, or tried, another book. Which one's that?
That's Monster Hearts too.
No, Monster Hearts and Thirsty Swords Lesbians.
Want to win last year's?
Yeah, well, I got one. I got one for you. You ready?
Award winning.
Yeah. Well, how about this one? Rangers of Shadow Deep. Have you seen that?
Rangers of Shadow Deep. Oh, yes, I am familiar with that. I do not own that. I do. You own that game, and I do not.
Deluxe edition, no less. So
right, deluxe edition. That makes you the whale, Steven.
I am the whale. I don't buy that much anymore now because I realize I have too much, but I do have this. Yeah. I've had that forever. I was just rearranging my shelf. That's why. But the point is that they lose these people who are the purchasers and the ones like the DMs are the ones who decide what they're going to start playing. And if they lose the DMs...
Yes, that's a great way to put it.
Oh, boy.
because they're in trouble. Because the person who came out and said, I have never bought anything from Wizards of the Coast, and I am not going to start now. It's like, oh, okay. That's cool sentiment, but it doesn't affect anything. Right. But if you have the GM who says, I have bought every single thing that D&D has made, and I buy the collector's edition too, and I'm paying for, and then I go and buy it on D&D Beyond, and then I go and buy it on Roll20, and then I buy extra copies so that I can share them with my players. If that person walks from your system,
and they have been,
then that is problematic. But how often the loyalty to the brand is pretty strong. People do love their 5th edition D&D. I think what did it is that all of this happened 4 or 5 or whatever 6 months into this one D&D announcement cycle.
That was the problem. It gave them the excuse to move over because they're like, well, D&D is going to be dying anyhow. This is the last call for 5th edition.
Yes.
So might as well switch over.
Might as well, right? I think 5th edition
was bad timing.
Oh, horrible timing. I can't, because that's what I'm saying. If 5th edition was rock solid, rock strong, if they came out and said, even if they had come out now with this D&D 1 nonsense, if they had come out very clear cut, very much like Wizards of the Coast did in 2003, and they said, we are doing 5.5. We are going to do a major cleanup. We are going to re-release the player's handbook. We are going to include new classes, new subclasses. We're going to fix the broken ones. We are going to create a robust Dungeon Master's Guide with the kind of monster balance and create counter building rules and all this other stuff that players have been asking for, but it is still going to be at its core 5th edition. We're going to take some of the most popular and favorite builds and subclasses that have come out through Unearthed Arcana. We're going to put that in blah, blah. If they had said that and said, we are doubling down on the 5th edition brand, it's going to come out in 2024. It's a celebration of the whole game, yada, yada, yada. I think people then would have been like, I am with this brand for life. Mm-hmm. And then when there was like a rocky start or something, people would have been like, no, I'm not leaving. But I think people, D&D, it's like the announcement of D&D 1 was like the first time like your partner kind of says, don't you ever miss being single? And like, it's just this real throwaway line, but it starts you being like, wait, what? Like, what's going on? Are they not happy? Like, should I be looking and you weren't even thinking about breaking up.
No one was thinking of this.
No one was thinking that. But because they said it, you start kind of going through and start saying, for the first time, you ask yourself, am I happy in this relationship? Could I be doing better? It starts this massive tumbling process, right? Mm-hmm. And so then, but then 5 months later, in the case of, Wizards of the Coast, you find the text message that shows that she's been cheating on you. And then you go, well, enough.
That's pretty much what happened. It's like, wow, they, well, do you see, it's like, and they've been kind of cagey this whole time. Like, it was like, well, it's one D&D. Is it 6th edition? No, it's not 6th edition. It's one D&D, but it's totally backwards compatible, but it's its own thing. And I'm like, those are mutually exclusive. It doesn't work that way. Like, which is it? Is it compatible or is it its own thing? It's like, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah, the branding on it was bad. I would have I think a lot of people thought, like, look, this isn't a new edition the way that, like, 4th edition was a new edition.
I call it, it's 6th. It's 6th.
But
everyone calls it 6th.
Okay, like, here's the problem. We've had 5 editions of D&D. Yeah. 6 if you include 3.5. 7 if you include Essentials from 4th edition.
Well, if you want to go in AD&D, we have 8.
So yeah, I'm talking about AD&D and the brand cycle. Here's the difference. AD&D 1st edition to AD&D 2nd edition was definitely a new edition.
Right.
AD&D 2nd edition to Dungeons and Dragons 3rd edition was not a new edition. That was a new game. And then 3.5 was a revision. It was a new edition.
Heavy revision, yeah.
Then 4th edition was not a new edition. That was a new game.
That was a new game, yeah.
And then 5th edition was not a revision. That was a new game, right? So we've had some of these editions have been actual edition changes, and other ones have just been entirely new games, right? That had yes, they used the D20. There were classes and hit points, but other than that, right? I think if they had been very upfront and clear that this 5th edition thing was going to be more like a 3rd edition to 3.5, but when they started talking about changing rules
they were planning on killing the OGL back then, because you can't have 5.5 if you're not going to kill the OGL. See, that's the thing. It's like they're trying.
Yes, I agree.
They are, and again, this is why I don't trust them, because it's like it's so obvious that this has been planned out for years. Like, this is not, we just came up with it and we were just protecting you from Disney. I'm like, bullshit. It's like, no, you guys were planning this forever. It was like, this has been very clearly planned, very carefully planned. You're trying to divide and conquer us. You give this terrible deal to the biggest people to try to control them, to destroy the market, to become the only game in town, to be the only VTT in town. And not only did it fail, but it made everyone run away. And now no one trusts you. And good job.
Shout out to Andrew East in the chat, who had a really good line. He said, if you have to buy the 3 core new books, 3 core books again, that's a new edition. I said,
you're going to have to.
That is actually totally fair.
No, it's going to be a new edition. It's 6th edition. Done.
All right. More super chats.
Booth Bay sent $10. Kudos to Roll for Combat.
Also a nice last call Patreon member.
Booth, in fact, if I don't have you, we won't have anyone. Kudos to Roll for Combat for the excellent OGL coverage.
Yes.
Thank you.
I have given you enough props for that, but I thought you guys did a good job of being, sometimes you were a little bit, down with the revolution, but for the most part, I thought you had very even-keeled coverage. I think Mark kept you in check. I think that
Mark
was a
keeps
good
me
thing.
in check, but it's really because I get so angry that people fall for this crap. That's what it bothers me. And they're like, even sometimes I'll see the like, but they were just protecting. Even now I'm seeing it's like they were just protecting us from ourselves. It's like, oh my god, no, they weren't. I'm like, no, they weren't. Don't fall for it. Laughing Out Law. Wow, Laughing Out Law. That's a cool name. So hard to say, though. $2. I think you're a good businessman. This has to be a friend of yours, Derek.
It's the guy who I'm driving across the country to deliver a handmade table to. Oh, my God.
Well, he gave me $2. $2 for your gas. That will get you a third of a mile.
Yes, exactly.
Ollie Wright, who's he is a member of Roll for Combat. And Picture the Unholy Mess.
Also a nice Last Call fan.
Oh, really? Okay. He's all over the place. WotC will be in if they're very expensive to make. VTT doesn't do well subscriber-wise. They need a very good product at launch.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. I'm not even going to begin. That is, boy.
Let's just say they're putting a lot of eggs in their basket. We'll see how it works out.
They're putting all their eggs into that basket. They're putting a lot of eggs into that VTT basket, and they expect that to save their bacon from, I think.
We'll see. I don't know.
I think we'll see. Depends how they do it. There's not a lot out for it yet, but man, that's what I was saying. Like this whole OGL chapter, this was still only the beginning. I think we're going to be hearing more in the spring and the summer, because they're going to start the ramping up cycle for 6th edition, and then they're going to start showing stuff. And man, it's gonna get interesting, because no one's forgetting this. I don't think people are going to be. I don't think the summer is going to make people forget this. Academic Chris sent a $1.99 super chat. 400 likes and Derek doesn't sing.
My man.
All right, well, let's see how many. We're only up to 273 likes. We're not even close. Come on, we have like 800 people watching. Please, 500 likes and Derek will. Man, I'll sing with him.
We know that doesn't work very well because of the delay. So,
well, Cellscapes sent a Spellscapes sent a $4.99 super chat. Is it another friend of yours?
No.
Oh, okay, cool. There is actually a totally backwards compatibility between 1 and 5th edition then one is actually not 6th edition. It's like 5.5. Oh yeah. Yeah, but the point is it's not.
But it might be now, right? Because right now,
it's too late.
in the bowel depths
Too
of Wizards
late.
of the Coast, right?
Too late.
Chris Perkins is hunched over.
Nope.
Some of the writing.
They have to get this to the printer.
Listen,
pretty soon.
I mean, listen. Hey, if Matt Colville can build an entire RPG system in a month, Wizards of the Coast can too. Okay. Oh, and Cobalt Press could build it in a month. Oh, and the Dungeon Coach can build it in a month, and the other 17 people who are all building a new fantasy D20 heartbreaker because they're going to take the throne that D&D so callously left broken. It really is. If you watch Game of Thrones, Robert Baratheon is dead. It's the War of Five Kings. Everybody's going to be fighting for the throne. It's going to be awesome. Seasons 2 and 3
that is
of
actually,
Game of Thrones.
Oh,
fantastic.
yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Great television.
That is actually not a bad analogy. The War of the Roses. It's the War of the...
I don't know.
Editions? No, that's...
Yeah, no, because it's not really about the editions.
Chat, help us out. The War of what? It's not the War of the Roses, but it's the War of something.
The thing is like... The fantasy RPG space has always been sort of dominated by this idea of like this one game to rule them all, right? I
have that game. It's right here. It's called The One Ring. I got it.
Very nice. I think I got that one back there too.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, that's why I have my show. Oh, yours is too far away. Yep, yeah.
Like the Dungeons and Dragons has always sort of been the North Star. It's been like the Astronomicon. If you know Warhammer 40K, it's like the Astronomicon where whether you play it or not, it is the metric that you sort of weigh your game against. We're like D&D, but this, or we're not like D&D because XYZ. And you've always had this sort of monolithic entity at the top. And it sort of defines and sort of structures the very fabric of the TTRPG ecosystem. And if suddenly, if Critical Role tries to make their own game.
Oh, they are. Like, they definitely are. But you know who's going to win? They are.
If they make their own game,
they won.
It will be.
They are.
Let me put it this way. So for so many people watching the chat today, I'm going to make an assumption. Now, I saw some people shouting out Monster Hearts and shouting out Rangers of Deep Shadow. Good for you. But I'm going to give you a great example of that. Imagine you're me and you go, or you're Steven, and we go online or we go to our favorite local game store, because online you can get a little bit more flexibility. But we go to our favorite local game store and we try to find somebody to play this game with. Do you know how hard that is? Very hard. And then you go online because, you're going to find enough people to play with online. And then you go over to your favorite Roll20 or your favorite Foundry.
Yep.
Do you know how much support they have for this? Not as much as they have for your D&D game.
I know.
Do you know how many third-party publishers there are for this?
I know.
0.
Right.
0. Okay.
Those are designed for one shots.
Now, what I'm trying to say is, for a lot of people out there, you don't know what it's like to be playing a game system that isn't the top dog or the second top dog. And like, I hear people say it's hard to find a Pathfinder 2e game. If you think it's hard to find a Pathfinder 2nd edition game, try any of these games behind me. It's damn near impossible. And there won't be third-party support for it. There won't be Foundry integration modules. That's right. Roll for Combat is amazing. They're not going to be doing a Battles of Bestiary for your system, okay? So...
Nope. I mean, people ask me if we're doing Starfinder, and I'm like, no. I love Starfinder, but no. Unfortunately.
And I'm just imagining a world where Critical Role makes their own game. 6th edition D&D comes out. Cobalt Press releases their version of a game. Matt Colville releases his game. And let's say that those become sort of the four pretenders, to the throne, including the one that is theoretically, right? It's just like Joffrey Baratheon, right? 6th edition, 1D&D is theoretically the heir, but everyone goes, but it's a bastard. And there is no connection.
Oh my God. You're going to town on this analogy.
It's a broken lineage, okay? Anyways, and so suddenly you're going to have people who you're going to get tribal politics. You're going to get people screaming down the other side. You're going to get people getting nasty. It's going to be an addition war. And, addition war was the Great Addition War, just like how World War I was called the Great War until there was a second one. This is going to be Addition War 2.0, Electric Boogaloo, and it's going to be crazy. Because now we live in an era of influencers
it's gonna
and
be
social
amazing.
media.
That's why I said people are like, now that the dust is settled, it's been all of 2 weeks since they capitulated. This is just the beginning. I'm like, get ready. Like, that's why I'm like, we're going to be doing this for a while. And
shout out to James Dean, who said, I love Earthdawn.
I saw that.
Right there, baby.
Oh, I didn't have the new one.
Now this is second edition. This is from like the 2000s. They're like up into the fourth edition. Well, we were reminiscing about Earthdawn the other day on our Discord.
So we got a whole bunch of good names. Let's see. I'm going to read them off. War of the 5e Clones. That one's okay. Dance of Dragons.
I mean, that's pretty nice.
That's pretty good. I give that one. That was the second one too. War of the Dice. War of the Dice. War of the Two Lions. War of the Dice. War of the Heartbreakers.
I like, because that is clinically, or that is technically true. They are heartbreakers.
War of the Rosewater, the Throne of Games. That one's pretty good too. I said Game of Thrones, the Throne of Games. Not bad.
No, especially quick thing. I have a picture of me on the Throne of Games. I think in 2015 or 2016, they did this at Gen Con.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, they had a Throne of Games. It was just like all sorts of board games and TTRPG books, and you could get a picture of you on it. It's pretty cool.
War of the Systems, War of the Rolls, War over the Tabletops, War of the Clones, Heartbreakers War, War of the Advantage Roll, War of the Openness, War of the Role Play, War of the Tabletop, War of the Tables.
Dance of Dragons is really
War
good.
of the Polyhedrals. I know it was the second one, a Dance of Dragons. I'm like, actually, that one kind of wins because that's kind of what it is. That one and also I say War of Dance of Dragons. I would say put them together. Dance of Dragons, the Throne of Games. There you go. That will be the name of the war that's coming up. But seriously, no. Let's think about this. You're completely right, because Black Flag has been getting everyone. Oh my God, everyone is asking me about Black Flag. They will not stop asking me about Black Flag.
Just judging from what I see on Twitter and Reddit,
God.
I'm not a big fancy publisher like you, but people.
Oh, they're very excited.
Very excited.
Very excited. Well, it's supposed to be a 5e flavor, so I will be supporting it because all my books work with 5e. So I have a feeling converting it over to Black Flag probably won't be very hard.
And that's going to be the kind of the litmus, right? Because these clones, these pretenders, these usurpers, they have a decision to make, which is they understand at a base level that the customer is mad at Wizards of the Coast. They might even have been a little upset at 5th edition D&D, but they don't want to actually leave D&D, And, I'm obviously more tied into the Pathfinder 2nd edition community than I am the Dungeons & Dragons community. And I have seen a little bit of angst, I'll call it, amongst my Pathfinder 2 friends who are out there in the interwebs, because there's been an influx of 5th edition people coming into Pathfinder 2nd edition. And the first thing they want to do is kind of turn Pathfinder 2nd edition into 5th edition, right? Because they didn't leave of their own free will. They left because the ship got blown up, right? Or they left because they were unhappy with the direction the ship was sailing. But they would have preferred if Wizards of the Coast had just kept their mouth shut and just, kept making a game and maybe, I don't know, balance challenge rating and fix the Ranger or something. And so, I don't know. I don't know anything about.
There's no economy in 5e either, right? There's a lot of things they need to fix, but yeah.
Okay. Debatable. It depends on how you play it. The vast majority of people who I've seen play 5th edition D&D at conventions and in local game stores, they barely need a rule set. I argue that they're not even really playing a game, because what they're doing is kind of just sitting around.
They're storytelling with light rules.
Yes, exactly. They could honestly use they could honestly use Honey Heist.
I actually say
or Lasers and Feelings, which are both one-page RPGs.
No,
and they'd be fine.
I actually say it's closer to, like, have you ever played like Blood on the Clock Tower?
Oh, yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, we talked. I'd say 5th edition D&D is a modified version of Blood on the Clock Tower in a way. It's scarily similar in some ways.
Sure.
It doesn't have dice rolling, but just the mechanics and how you're playing a character that has certain aspects, and I actually felt very similar to playing Blood in the Clock Tower and 5th edition. I can't describe it, but I feel it's a very similar type game because it's very social interaction, and the fighting is very, I wouldn't call it fluffy, but it's not.
Sure.
It's not crunchy. It's not crunchy at all.
It's not a tactical crunchy time.
No,
so anyway,
no.
So I mean, I think a lot of people who are being kind of forced to leave their 5th edition homes are looking for something similar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so there's going to be a natural economic incentive for people to make these games 5th edition like.
Yeah,
that's all I want to say.
It was a lot, man.
Right.
Wait, but we have the official title. I think the official title, someone wrote it out, is The Throne of Games, Dance of Dragons. I think that's it. But back to what I was saying, it's like, so if we have MCDM is coming out with their game, we have Black Flag coming out with their game, and there are a few others, but those are the two big boys.
Yeah, those are the big ones.
Those are the big ones.
Absolutely.
6th edition.
Yep.
But,
we can't forget the actual,
Well, we can't forget the actual people. But then, Tal'Dorei. And this is 1st edition Tal'Dorei's coming out with their game.
I mean,
guarantee it. They're coming out with it. It's being worked on right now.
Here's the thing.
Guarantee it.
You all know me. There is a part of me that would love nothing more than for this whole thing to just devolve into civil war. And here's why
It's going to.
And here's why you know
and then
that
Pathfinder. Don't forget about Pathfinder.
You know what? I would argue you're right. Pathfinder is now kind of
it's in the war.
They were always there.
They were always there.
You know who Pathfinder is?
The French?
No. They're Daenerys Targaryen.
Oh, I was thinking World War II. They are. They're like, yeah, they're Targaryen. Yeah, they basically, you know what? Holy crap, is this working out? They're like, we were here all along, and they're and they had the dragons. They have the dragons,
right?
And they're just like, they're sleeping all along,
right? And
now they got the orcs, which I think you could be the what was the name of the warriors they had? The
Dothraki or the Unsullied.
Unsullied. We're both.
Yeah. Anyways, so yes, it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. All right, let's try to finish these up, Steven, so we can wrap this up.
Wrap it up, dude. We just got started. You're the 5-hour man. John Harrison sent a $3.44 chat. We will remember WoTC like we remember TSR, but maybe less fondly.
I don't think WoTC's going away.
I think they're going away.
So, but I mean, I'll say this: I know TSR, $R, like a lot of people like really crapped on TSR, and yeah, they shit the bed, and they were also horrible business people. It turned out too.
Oh, they're terrible.
But you know what? TSR printed my childhood, so I cannot.
You know what? Here's the thing about TSR: they got a lot of crap, but if you go back and look at the quality of those books, mind-boggling. I mean, oh my god, they give you so much value.
Forget the books. Can I just say? Boxed set.
Oh my! The box, everything. They no wonder they were losing money because they were gamers. They put so much into these boxes.
So much. Can you imagine production? You'd have to charge $100 to make something like that today.
Well, no, they do. It's called
the Beetle and Grimm.
Yeah, it's Beetle and Grimm. They basically were doing Beetle and Grimm before Beetle and Grimm, and they were charging normal prices.
But they were charging I remember. I don't know what year it was, but I remember when I got the Forgotten Realms AD&D 2nd edition. Campaign box set, I think it was $30, and it was like, it had 5 books, a monster manual thing, 5 maps. It was crazy. Anyways, all right.
Yeah, no, they were they in retrospect,
box set when, Steven?
Was ridiculous how much they put out. And if you read their modules, they're written in like 8-point typeface and they're like 100 pages. And I'm like, there's got to be like 200,000 words in this 100-page. Like they were like nuts. They were nuts back then.
Yeah.
Eric Riley, $2 said, "It's the Dance of Dragons." LOL.
Right, so
that it is. How many likes are we up to? Oh man,
Not
only 360. Come on, people. We need a lot more. Daniel Oath here said a $5 super chat. WoTC's one chance at winning the upcoming edition war is to open up vast versions under DM's is to open up past versions under DM's Guild. Not really. I mean, the point is DM's Guild is such a small percentage of their profit. DM's Guild is really there to help keep the game alive and to give people a way. They can control it because they own everything you put on DM's Guild. And second, it allows people a controlled outlet to put all their products. And it actually works because, Pathfinder did the same thing with Infinity and Starfinder, because there was a lot of people who wanted to put out things for Pathfinder, but they didn't know where or how. And it's very successful because there you go. You want to find something, go there. It works great for a lot of people. It's actually a very likable platform, and there's a lot of very good things there. But in terms of bottom line for Hasbro, it's like a rounding error. It's like,
right. Absolutely.
It means nothing to them. Harold Gruntigen, is that it? I don't know. It looks German, so sorry. $5.00 super chat. Oh, playing Warhammer TTRPG. And the main reason I did not get a group is thanks to Games Workshop community. Yeah, Warhammer. Wow, that is very good. I have not played that in a long time. That, you want to talk about crunchy, man. That is a crunchy role-playing game.
Well, it's based off of the D100 system, going back to BRP and to Rollmaster.
It's fun, though.
All that stuff. Yeah, I mean, it's a very cool thing. And also, that's NOK, so that's a Norwegian.
Got it. So yeah, he says he's the main reason he did not get a group is
thanks to the main reason he did get a group.
Oh, he did get a group. You need to read this. I can't see them.
Yeah, right. But the main reason he did get a group is thanks to the Games Workshop community. So apparently, I think this was in the comment to where I was saying that if you're playing a off-brand game, good luck finding players and stuff like that. And he's saying that the GW community came through, and GW is nice in that way that at least it does have a very fervent and supportive fan base. But if you're one of these new people, you're just relying on sort of your word of mouth. And obviously Critical Role has a pretty rabid fan base. I
mean, I don't know why they're not doing it. It's just they literally have a license to print money, and now they have Amazon behind them, and they're coming out with more. Oh my God, it's just a matter of time. I'm kind of surprised they're not coming out with more products.
You want to hear about an under-monetized brand? Do you know how much money I would spend to see if you're online and you know anything about Warhammer 40K? If you know that the fan-made Warhammer 40K movie that got made a couple years ago, I don't remember exactly what it was called, but you know what I'm talking about. The one with the Space Marines and the psychic orbs. Okay? If they did a movie that was that quality, that was made by one guy as a home project. If they did a movie of that quality, feature length, with incredible writing and all of the awesome, amazing Warhammer 40K awesomeness that we want, I would pay $100 for the movie ticket. I would pay $100 for a Dolby surround sound 7.1 bolter fire causing the seats to rattle. I would pay $100 for that ticket.
Yeah, but not a lot of people would.
Oh, I disagree. This is a community that's used to paying $100 to pick up a squad of Imperial Guardsmen who get wiped out in one turn.
No, I understand, but they don't control that. And more importantly, the problem with movies is that whenever you go to a movie studio, it's a co-brand deal and you lose a lot of control. Here's a company, they don't like to lose control. And that's why it takes so long for big companies to make these deals for like a World of Warcraft movie or a D&D movie or any of these movies, because it's like, now Hasbro was more comfortable with this because they did Transformers, they did Battleship. Like, they obviously knew how to negotiate and work with Hollywood because they've been doing it for a long time. But still, I think some of these brands were a little bit easier to move over, like Transformers. I think Transformers was kind of a no-brainer. But I think D&D is tricky because D&D doesn't really have anything to latch on to. It's like... Yeah,
it's everything and nothing. It's a very strange... you could see this, by the way, for many years, how they've always tried to sort of root... Like Magic the Gathering did this. They literally introduced Planeswalkers.
Right, the Planeswalkers, and they were told by Hollywood, we can't do magic because you have no protagonists. So
don't have any protagonists.
They literally invented Planeswalkers to make protagonists.
And for people, so they could put them on.
And it worked.
And they could put them on posters, and they could put them on.
100% success, A+ success.
Yeah, exactly. D&D has never really had that.
Dritz.
Dritz is the only example I could possibly think of. Yeah. But, yeah.
Well, now we'll have the new one with the movie and whatever his name is, by the way. Oh, I'm gonna defend this to the grave. Every movie is a heist. Because remember, you're like, why thieves? Every movie's a heist.
I know, we've had this conversation.
But it's true. I was thinking about it. I was like, I can watch any movie. I'm watching. I'm like, I always think that heist. They're all heists. Every movie's a heist. Every movie. Every movie. There's always a heist. That's why there's always thieves. 2T Wave.
T2 Wave says, I bet I can do a better Kermit.
I don't know.
Probably can.
I don't know. His Kermit's pretty good.
It depends on
Kermit the Frog here. You see, I'm terrible.
Kermit the Frog here.
Oh my God, he's so good. But you didn't know who Robin was. That disappointed me.
No, I didn't. I'm more of a Muppet Babies kind of guy. All right. Who's next? Oh, it's Daniel again. Daniel Lickers. He says MCDM, meaning Matt Colville, by the way, for people who don't know that, is Rob Stark. We just want to do our own thing, right? They're not coming for the kingdom. They just want to be their own separate kingdom, right? You know what? I signed up for MCDM's Patreon just so I could read his development blog, his designer vlog.
Really?
Yeah, of how, because he's working through, they're building a new game. Like they're literally just sitting in.
I should do that. I should have Mark write a development blog.
Meeting rooms, and they're making their new RPG. And it's interesting because Matt Colville, obviously a fan of 4th edition, a game that I liked. It's interesting to see his design process because I think of the ones that we're talking about, 6th edition, Critical Role, but MCDM's game is going to be the one that is going to be the most different in terms of the delineation between them. Well, no, I just mean it's going to be the least like 5th edition.
Definitely. Well, because you see, Cobalt has to be able to support all their old products.
Sure.
So they're going to make their edition work with 5th edition.
I mean, MCDM is literally in the midst of delivering on a Kickstarter for their multi-million-dollar Flea Mortals monster book.
It's one book.
I mean, I'm just saying. You know, they had their Stronghold of Followers books.
You know what? They'll come out again. Edition. They're like, oh, here, now we're Flea Mortals again, and they'll come out with their work on their system. They will sell it twice, which
Flea Mortals 2, we're still running. All right. Spellscapes, $4.99. Since WoTC only talked about their plans in terms of changes, change seems inevitable. So why do you all think they completely changed course? Well, I just think that they are going to change their course because what they thought they were going to do is not going to happen. Like, I think they thought they were going to get people to sign up. They were going to rewrite the OGL. They were going to, sunset it or whatever, fold it into the new world. And now they're living in a world where they're going to potentially have to compete against their old system. And they've done that before. It was called 4th edition in Pathfinder 1. And it didn't work out well for them. So I'm sure they have to sort of go back to the drawing board and think, I mean, for lack of a better word, I think that is what happened in the 4th edition and what happened with Paizo in Pathfinder 1 is exactly what they were trying to avoid happening this time. And
they have to.
And they failed, right?
Yeah.
Now you're going to get a bunch of carrying on the torch, the spiritual successor of 5th edition for all the people who don't want to go to, 6th edition and the silly whatever rule set. I'm going to go to Black Flag instead. And now Wizards of the Coast has to compete against a rule set that they essentially built.
Yeah. They thought things were going to go the way they wanted. This obviously has messed up their plans. But it only messed up their plans in terms of, okay, well, we opened up 5th edition. I guarantee all their 6th edition plans are pretty much still intact, and they're probably modifying them slightly. Yeah. But they're way too far down the pipe. Like, I know people who are.
That's what you think. I don't think that. I think
they're gonna. I know because I know people working on it.
Well, you with your insider information. Well, I've got hot takes.
Well,
Steven.
I'm going to tell you something. Wait,
I've got uninformed passion.
All right, you're using your gut. Get this. Is anyone listening? Make sure no one's listening.
Okay.
My friends, they're going to Hasbro in a couple weeks.
Oh.
So I was like, oh boy, that's going to be interesting. I was like, they're the ones working on some of this stuff. So I was like, I'm very curious to hear about those meetings. So anyhow, now you didn't hear that from me.
All right. And the other thing, you know what's going to happen also, by the way? Like, I mean, again, praying for your success. But what's going to happen is these books are going to come out. And, you know, I think these people are going to try to rush. No offense. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be bad, but they're going to try to rush. And they're going to try to get these books out in the next year. And betas before that, right? And they're going to try to get out before the 2024 deadline when 6th edition was supposed to come out, big 50th anniversary, whatever.
It's coming out.
And
it'll come out Christmas.
And MCDM Fantasy D20 is going to release, and Black Flag is going to release. Yes. And people are going to be really excited, and they're going to switch over to it. And 6th edition is going to release, and everyone's going to have this big, like, I don't need your 6th edition. Look at me playing Black Flag. And they're going to feel very morally superior, and they're going to feel very good about themselves and their product decisions. And then a year later, when they realize there's not as much support as they're used to, when their product releases haven't been as exciting, when all the cool, new, super shiny D&D stuff just keeps coming out, that is going to be the real test of their devotion.
You're 100% right. Yes.
Because that's when they're going to say, you know, because I'm guilty of this. Steven, you're guilty of this. TTRPG players that buy stuff like to buy stuff. You know, like, we want products to buy. We want things to have their, you know, for their money.
Well, here, I'll tell you real quick. This is what I think is going to happen. And then we'll finish up super chats because it looks like someone wants to go to dinner with you.
That is actually true.
That's why you're hurrying up. I'm like, why does he hurry up? He does 4-hour shows.
I haven't eaten. I'm hungry.
No, so am I. But we'll finish up. So get in your super. If you want it, now's the time. Super chat, like, and subscribe, and we'll get some Kermit singing and finish up the chats real quick. We'll go through them quick. What was that?
Kermit. I used to be able to do a good Goofy.
Oh my god, what are your Goofy? I haven't heard Goofy before.
I have to sing the Green. Nowadays, I have to sing the Green Day song. On holiday. Oh, hello, Mickey. How's everybody doing? Oh, gosh.
Oh my god, I love it.
That's my Goofy.
That is Goofy. Yeah, I totally. Oh, this is what's gonna happen. Okay, now here's the thing. Hasbro and WoTC, they don't go to Gen Con anymore. They don't go to anything. And that's a big problem. That's another thing. It's like, they are so above us.
Oh,
like,
I know.
They're like, we're here, you fans. Like, yeah. And I feel it. And I think everyone else is starting to feel it. And
I'm not even going to lie. That was a big deal for me. I know that sounds stupid. No, I know that sounds stupid, but it was because when I first started going to Gen Con, Wizards of the Coast was there. They had the castle.
I love the castle. And everyone was there, and I would talk to everyone. I had great. Okay, when Wizards of the Coast, I'm going to interrupt you. When Wizards of the Coast owned the Sagamore Ballroom before Paizo,
oh yeah,
I used to sit and play.
That big, huge red dragon banner.
I played with Chris Perkins. I played with all those guys. Yeah. It was so much fun. Great games. 4th edition, by the way. 4th edition. Fantastic, fun times.
See, look right here. All this above me, that's all 4th edition right there.
Yeah, I see that. And that's the thing. It's like, now, they're like, they're nowhere. They're nowhere.
Yeah.
So you know who's gonna?
But I'm saying you're right. You felt that it was like they didn't care.
No, they don't.
It's like that, and part of the reason I think that I didn't really. I mean, there was a lot of reasons I didn't get into 5th edition, but part of the reason I didn't get into 5th edition is it was like it doesn't feel like they themselves care about the game. Or the edition.
And trust me, there's actually still people there. Because, like, Amanda Hammond, who I'm friendly with from Paizo, like, she's there. And, like, there's people at the convention. But they're there on their own. They're not there as official WoTC reps. And the ones that are there are in back rooms with meetings, by the way. And they're hidden. So they're not there publicly. But this is what I predict.
Okay.
I predict that Matt Colville will be going to Gen Con. And sure. And this is the year. And at Gen Con, he is announcing Tal'Dorei World, whatever it's going to be.
You mean not Matt Colville? You mean
not Matt Colville? I meant Matt Mercer. Matt Mercer. Sorry, Matt Mercer's going, and they're going to announce it at Gen Con, and they're going to suck all the life out of the room, and suddenly everyone's going to be like, "Oh baby!" It's like when Amazon, sorry, it's like when Microsoft or when Apple announces something, and everyone wants to get out of their way.
Listen, I could totally see it now. They do it on a Friday. They do it on a
Yep.
They do it on a Friday night.
Yep.
And they rent or they get a ballroom.
Because they go to Gen Con. They're going to be there.
They get a ballroom, either at the convention hall or in an adjacent hotel.
They're going to have some secret. They're going to have we invite you to something.
There'll be marketing material everywhere, and it'll say, join us, 7 p.m., whatever, for the future of Tal'Dorei. And then no one will have heard about it until Gen Con. Maybe they'll take a page out in the event book. Maybe there'll be signs for it. People will be like, it'll be the buzz of the conversation. It'll be standing room only. There'll be thousands of people in there. And then Critical Role, maybe at least part of the cast comes out. Everyone goes fucking nuts. And then they announce some RPG.
And that's it. They win Gen Con. They will win it. And that's all people are going to be talking about for months, if not years later. It's going to happen. If they, I'm willing to bet that is happening. And then this war of the dragons or whatever, it's going to
Dance of Dragons.
It's going to oh boy. Then it gets fun, man. And this is why I'm like, what are you guys doing? I'm like, I'm staying out of it, man. I don't want to be anywhere near this. Who am I? You know who I am? I got my little birds. That's who I am.
Well, you just got raided.
I know. I did. Who raided us?
Rookser. I don't know Rookser, but hey, welcome, Rookser.
Hey, thank you. Oh, yeah, Rookser joined. Hey, Rookser, thank you for joining. Let's go through a couple more. John Harrison sent a $3.44 super chat. Dritz or Dragonlance would be best for a D&D movie. You know what? I guarantee what they did. I agreed, but I guarantee they did marketing, and I guarantee because movie companies do disgusting amounts of market research, especially now. I guarantee those did not do well, and they're like, nope. I guarantee it.
I'm sure they didn't, but man, I would love to see those. Either of those.
You're talking to someone. I've read every single Dritz book.
Every single one.
I'm up to the last few twice.
Every single one, like even after the ones after like everyone died,
not the side ones. I didn't do the side ones. I did all the main. There's like
I'm talking about like after like everybody died and then they got brought back to life and in their reincarnated forms.
I love them all, man. I love R.A. Salvatore. Read his quartet. By the way, you want to read a really good bit?
You don't think I know about Catterley and the Cleric's Quartet? Of course, I've read Catterley.
That is the best Dungeons and Dragons book I've ever read. Those, because then they encounter a mummy, which is way high to level for them, and they run away. They're like, "Oh my god, we're going to die!" They're not going to fight it. They're running, and I was like, "This is good." It feels like D&D. God, I love those books. Daniel again sent a $5 super chat. Says, "I don't know how you can top the existing Dragonlance movie."
I'm assuming he means the animated one.
I never saw it.
It's okay. It's okay.
Oh,
I mean, it's basically just Dragons of Autumn Twilight. They go to Zack Sargoth, and they get the discs of Mishakal, and it's got Gold Moon and Moon and Riverwind.
I do have to watch
Tannis and Sturm and
Vox
Tika.
Machina finished up, so I got to watch that.
Haven't watched that yet.
It's okay. It's okay. I like the first season a lot. Second season's it's a very much like they're going through each character, so I think it's going to work better. I actually don't think it works well as having a thing coming out one at a time. Anyhow, William Brandes sent a $5 super chat. So, Derek, when are we getting dinner? I'm pretty hungry here, and it isn't keeping this body in shape, I'm just saying. So I guess that's your dinner, friend?
That's my partner on the channel.
Got it. Oh, that's right. Spellscape sent a $9.99 super chat. Critical Role and Dimension 20 are in unique positions of being able to speak to an audience invested in story and characters first and don't know game systems. So they know how to teach people a new system. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like you have Critical Role who's like, we are wrapping up our current season, and we're coming out with the Tal'Dorei system, and it's going to be out this Christmas. Get a head start on, get a 1 year head start on 6th edition, and our new game system. We're going to go through it, and we're going to have videos and explaining it, and we're going to play all of our characters. And this, I'm like, oh my God, they might win. They might win. It doesn't matter how good the VTT is. I'm like, oh boy, you might actually see, like in the console wars, you know how like in the console wars, there's always someone new winning. It's like 1 year it's Microsoft, 1 year it's Nintendo,
Sure,
1 year it's keeps going around. Right now, it's pretty much been you know, D&D, 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 and then there was that small time when Pathfinder was winning. And it wasn't that Pathfinder was winning; it was that D&D gave up. That's actually what really happened.
Right, that's how I understand it.
Yeah, it's not that everyone's like, oh, they were outselling them. They're outselling because D&D gave up and they stopped putting out their books. That's why. So it wasn't that they were losing; it's that they weren't competing. And then D&D came back. But I have a feeling Critical Role.
No, Critical Role can be the one to do it. That is.
They're going to beat them.
Your exact words were, "I'm 100% convinced," but I am not 100% convinced. But I will say this: if they do, and you say they will, and I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying if that will be the biggest curveball into this whole mess, right? That is an atomic bomb of things, you know. So it'll be interesting.
You know what? I gotta get my little birds out, and I'm gonna start sniffing around because.
So that makes you Varys.
I know. I said I'm Varys.
Oh, I missed that. Okay.
No, I said I'm Varys. I'm the one. I send out my little birds because that's what I said. I don't want to be anywhere near this. I just have connections everywhere, so I'll send out my little birds. There's got to be someone working on this system.
If we follow the line of the show, means that Paizo will kill you.
Well, it might happen. Actually, you know what? I have contracts with them, and you never know. Stranger things have been known to happen.
You already stole their best game designer.
Yeah. So, you know what? And Eric said that. He said, "Please don't steal any more of my game designers."
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I don't blame him. So, I think we actually made it through everything.
We did. We made it through everything. What's for dinner?
I don't know. We're actually going up. So Night's Last Call has a studio that's been under construction for ungodly number of months. And Smith and I are going to go up there. We're going to take care of some things that need to be taken care of, do some planning. We got to think about how we're going to light it and how we're going to set up the kind of command station. Because we're going to be doing live streaming in person. So it's going to be like a studio, like a news studio. So it's a big technological step up for us, right? We used to just do everything pre-recorded. Then we went live, but via Zoom calls and OBS. Now we're going to be live in person. So it's each step requires more and more investment.
Who's Critical Role in the metaphor? They might be the White Walkers.
Oh, yes! Oh, that is so good.
They might be, because they're just coming out of nowhere.
Matt Mercer is the motherfucking Night King. Holy shit, he is. That's incredible.
He is.
That is so true. That's perfect.
Yeah.
By the way, somebody said they said you were talking about R.A. Salvatore, and Dread Gazebo said, "But have you read the Spear Wielder's Tale?" I have read the Spear Wielder's Tale.
I read everything. I've read the Demon Saga.
But do you know that he made that into a RPG?
No, but I did play like all the video games.
Here you go. The only RPG made by Bob Salvatore.
Look at that.
It is the Demon Dactyl.
Oh.
It was made by R.A. Salvatore and Brian Salvatore, his son.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, and Gino Salvatore, his other son. And look at that.
He signed it. Yep.
And all of his sons.
Yeah, he's a very nice guy. I've met him
he's
a few
fantastic.
times.
He's
I've
met
very
him a
nice.
bunch of time at
He's very
Gen Con.
Boston-y. He's funny.
Oh, yeah, he's very Boston. I can't do Boston.
I can't do it, but he's a funny guy. I just like the way he writes combat. He's very big into swords, and he writes combat really well.
So I'm not this here. This is my criticism of R.A. Salvatore. I kind of skip over his combat because there's only so many times Dritz can be impossible.
100% right, but I put it this way: it's like anything else. Like I'd say 30% of the time it's like whatever, and I'd say about 50% of the time it's it's fine. But then it gets those like 5-10% that are like really interesting combats.
No,
and I'm just like, wow, I'm like really into it.
Again, having never actually seen it in real life, I can replay in my mind the double thrust low cross guard parry.
I love when he does that. He's like shink, shink, and then he's always like, oh, I missed, and he's like, and whenever he does the fights with who's his nemesis, Duraxel. They're always like they just miss each other.
Artemis Entreri.
Yeah, artists, and they're always just like they just missing by like a millimeter, and they're always like, oh, I just missed. And there's like it's just like the game of millimeters, and it's fascinating the way he writes those battles. It's his books. Look, I get it. Some people are like, oh,
no, they're great reads. I mean, listen, I mean, in my opinion, the Crystal Shard.
I was gonna say the Crystal Shard
is like the quintessential D&D adventure story saga. It is so fun. It's not New York. It's not, well, it probably is a New York Times bestseller now, but like it's not like it's popcorn fiction. Like I'm not going to try to like say it's some like deep, meaningful Catcher in the Rye type thing, but it is such a fun read. My copy is like almost disintegrated. It's probably the book that I have read the most repeated in of any book ever, and it's one of my absolute favorite book.
Oh, if I even want to get up, I also have the graphic novel for the gem. You know what I do like? I like, which book is it? It's the third book. I forget which one it is. That they start the book off, and they like go into the dungeon, and the entire book is them just going through the dungeon until they get to the end, and they just start off like.
Is it Gauntlgrim?
It might have been. I don't know which one it is, but it's basically them just going through a dungeon, and then by the end they slowly, because they're way too powerful for this dungeon, but slowly they start getting worn down because even they can only do so much, and it's all in one session. It's like, and they're just getting worn down, and by the end they're just exhausted. And I'm just like, and they are beaten up, and I'm just like, man, this. How can you not like this? It's just like one D&D session, like marathon D&D session ridden. His stuff. I mean, look, it's very hit and miss. When he does stuff all about Wolfgar, I'm like,
right. Spine of the World,
which is the
Wolfgar is washed up in Luskin, and he gets involved with that
drinks.
lady.
That actually was not. That's not bad. That one's not bad.
No, here's the thing. It's not. But it's not what I want to read these books for. You know what I mean? So like,
it's interesting, but not a whole book interesting. But it is interesting how he's like so strong, and he starts drinking, and he starts like smashing, and then he makes so much damage to the bar that they're like yelling at him.
I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that at the end of the book, The Passage to Dawn, and they are fighting the one of the main antagonists, big demon lord things out on the ice, and the whole book you think that they're trying to rescue Dritz's dad, and then somebody else shows up who had been dead. It was like one of the most incredible literary moments.
I loved Dritz's dad.
Life.
His dad was his name.
Zach Nafine.
Oh yeah. Like you're good with the names. I'm bad with names. I'm very, 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 very bad with names. And believe it or not, and no one's going to believe me, but I completely blame long COVID because I used to be really good.
Interesting.
And I got COVID, and my memory went like, bleh. It's like,
you know what? I mean, people are sleeping, I think, on the effects of the long COVID. Maybe not to like
I felt it. Because I used to be like with you with the names, and they're just out of my mind. Like I can't bring them up anymore. And I can point it to like when I got COVID, I felt like I was in a fog for like a year. Yeah. And I think I'm just used to it now.
Right. Yeah. No.
Zachrafin. Oh yeah, he was
Zach Nafine.
Zach Nafine was awesome. I love when they're in how do you pronounce it? I just called the Underworld. Melba.
Menza
Baranzan. I love when they're there. It's just so interesting, the whole world. I mean,
it's very
well. I love Drow, and I love Mind Flayers, and I love.
Well, there you go.
That's why I'm very much looking forward, because people are like, are you going to boycott Baldur's Gate 3? God, no. I'm like going to be the first one online to buy it. Are you kidding? That thing looks fantastic. It's like, it's got everything I love. I can't wait to play that game. Damn it, man. It's like first on the list. All right, I'll let you go get dinner.
Yeah, I was going to say, people indulged us as we geeked out about
425 likes. You got to give him something for that.
I did it in my Goofy voice.
What other voices? You got Goofy. You got.
I don't know. know. I mean, that's a great question. I mean, I do them all the time. I just don't really know if they're
You have
specifically.
Kermit. You have Goofy. You gotta have others. What was the voice you used when you played a Poppet?
I don't remember what my Poppet voice was. Come actually think about that. Oh no, I was the GM.
Well, you still had to do Poppet voices.
No, because the Poppets were the one who rose up to kill Santa Claus and take over Christmas.
Well, what about when you were playing the other one with the Leshies?
With the Leshies. Now, I don't remember what my Snapdragon Popcorn was her name.
Popcorn.
My dragon barbarian flower Leshy. Probably something. I think I alternated because Bernardo says Kermit voice about Guns and the Gears. For those of you not aware, I don't like Guns. I don't like Guns and Gears. It's my least favorite Pathfinder 2 book of all time. I don't like
it. It's not. I know one did you hate more.
It's impossible.
Oh, I do. I know which one it is.
It's impossible. There's nothing you could show me that I will dislike more than Guns and Gears.
Yeah, there is. Hold on, I'm getting it for you. Monsters of Myth.
You know what? No.
Because really? I know you don't like that one.
Because fundamentally, at least Monsters of Myth is still in the same world of fantasy and Pathfinder 2, and I just listen. If
Guns
you
and Gears is a beautiful layout. I don't know about the book itself, but the layout's gorgeous. By the way,
gorgeous art, gorgeous layout,
beautiful,
perfect. It's beautiful. I do like that. But yes, Brandis says Monsters of Myth. No, like Monsters of Myth was just disappointing from like a mechanical perspective, right? Like I wanted more out of the book from that perspective. But
yeah, actually, I also the same thing. When I got Monsters of Myth, I was so excited to actually see like stat blocks and I'm like, oh yeah, all these cool monsters, and it was like just lore. And I was like,
I gave it a C.
Yeah, I was like, I was
maybe a C- or something like that.
Yeah, I was disappointed with that one.
But anyways, yeah.
Oh, people are going crazy. They want a lot. They're asking for you to sing.
No, they're not. Well, you get to 500, so we don't get anything. So it's fine.
You get nothing. You get nothing.
No. You lose. Good day, sir.
Good day. Good day.
But yeah, it's always fun times. Having I just like messing around when I'm like in the car or whatever. Whenever I'm singing a song that I've heard before, I like to sing in the car. I never sing it straight. I always just do it in a weird voice, just because I get bored, right? You've heard the same song so much, so you just start, making up voices. Like I said, that's why, like to do my Goofy, it's because that song, from Green Day, and I was singing along to it, so I can't do Goofy without starting in the song by Green Day. It's called Holiday, and I can almost not sing it without doing Goofy now, but like in the song, they go, on holiday. That's like Billy Joel Armstrong's he's kind of got that weird nasaliness to his voice. And so on holiday, it just kind of comes out naturally. Gosh, Mickey, it's just, that's how you get to it. So anyways,
you sound like Barney.
Oh, Barney. Hey, kids. How you doing? I love you. You love me. We're a happy family with a big D20 from love to me to you. Won't you say you love me too? All right.
Oh, yeah, that was it. Okay, you got it. Everyone, yep. Little golf clap. That was very good. That actually was, and you made it up. You added a little D20 in there. That was so good.
We do what we can.
You do what you can. I'm the only one. I can coax you to do all this fun stuff. Oh, boy. Rainbow Connection. All right,
but in my normal voice. No,
Connection. I can't do it. I suck at singing.
That's Rainbow Connection. Now that's the song. Because that's obviously like the best Kermit song of all time. But yeah, I'm gonna go to dinner. It's Friday. Also tomorrow, yes. I'm gonna be interviewing some people.
Oh, okay.
Because next weekend, I'm gonna plug it. We've got 630 people watching. Next weekend, sponsored by Roll for Combat, is Third Party Con, or also known as the TPK.
That's right.
Third Party Con is celebrating all things Pathfinder 2 and the third party infrastructure thereabouts.
That's right.
And myself, I think Nonats, I think Rules Lawyer, I don't know. I think there's a bunch of us, but we're going to be sitting down with some of these third party creators. We're going to be doing some live segments. We're also going to be doing some pre-recorded stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be going all weekend.
And guess where it's all going to be streamed?
Yes, it's all going to be streamed.
Right here.
And free.
Yeah,
and so
at Roll for Combat, I think we're streaming all of it.
Yeah, there you go. You are sponsoring the streaming.
I'm sponsoring the stream, so
there you go.
Do you want to watch it? It's going to be here.
But I do have some interviews that I have to record tomorrow because it need to be pre-recorded.
Yeah, I actually have 3 things I have to do for that. I have to do like 3 hours of stuff very quickly. Although that's what Ronald the Ruse lawyer was telling us. He actually came up with a very good idea, and we're going to probably record something on Monday for TPK Con, and then I got to do another thing, and then I got to do another thing, and Mark is running a whole bunch of. He's doing a lot. He's doing stuff.
Yeah, there's definitely a segment Mark. There's definitely a segment that Mark's a part of that I think I'm going to be like doing the emceeing for.
Yeah,
which is like hacking Pathfinder 2, like talking about like
design.
Rules, game design and rules design. So that'll be pretty cool. I need to keep my mouth shut, because I'm supposed to just be. Hosting. I'm not supposed to be a guest.
Good luck. I'm gonna get you a muzzle. Give me your account. Give me your address. Easy. I'm gonna send you a dog muzzle.
I have a mute button. Right.
Oh, look, there we go. He muted himself.
And all I have to do is push that mute.
Where's your sound effects?
I don't. You know what? I actually don't know what these sound effects are.
It did. It worked. You got to cheer.
So, anyways.
You're so cool. It's like I got mute buttons, I got cheers, I can sing like Goofy. Yeah. You're like the pro, man.
Yes, listen. I got soundboards and the whole 9 yards. All right, we got one last super chat, and then we're gonna dip out.
Let the night roll on.
Yes. Then you get a hero point, Steven. That was very good.
I didn't say it. Someone else said it.
Oh, damn it. Well, they gain a hero point.
I still take it.
He stole your hero point.
I stole it. That's the best way to get him.
Bill Allen says, Steven, seriously, though, you have been a hugely valuable resource to the community. Keep on doing your thing. And I agree with Mr. Bill Allen there. Obviously, it was nice to have somebody with your kind of insider information and continue to, to do so. But again, I also, please be nice to everybody out there. like not everybody has to like the thing. No, I'm just saying to everybody else.
Yeah.
I get that we all hate Wizards of the Coast now or whatever it is, but you don't have to, and it's okay if you don't. And if you want to keep playing 5th edition D&D, don't let anybody make you feel like you're a bad person or that you're doing something horrible or wrong. You paid your hard-earned money for those books. You have every right to play your campaign just the way you want to. I don't give a damn what anybody tells you on Twitter or on YouTube. Fuck them. You play your game with your friends. If you and your group feel like it is the best thing for you to do is to try a new game out or to vote with your wallet, that is awesome as well. But don't let somebody else a million miles away behind some faceless keyboard make you feel inferior for choosing a game that you want to play and enjoy.
Yeah, just play what you want. My personal concern is I just don't trust them at this point.
Right. And that's the beautiful thing about RPGs, you know? You can't take this away from me.
Not the book.
Well, not the book, yeah. But and I get it. Some people play around, a virtual table, not a real table.
Yep.
But still, you know what? You could always just go to a Zoom call, Steven.
Oh, I know.
You know what? One of our patrons, probably the patron who runs the most virtual games, he hates virtual tabletops. On our Patreon, Ben, he literally has almost like you were talking about with your board game thing. He does that with RPGs. He builds it in front of him. He's got a top-down camera mounted and goes to his Zoom feed, and they basically play tabletop D&D just with, remotely.
I would have done that if it wasn't for VTTs, because VTTs have been around for about, I've been using for about 12 years. Someone was dying, so they caught up.
That's
your friend. Have some toast. Have some chips. All right, we're gonna let you go.
All right, Smith, you can start heading up to the studio if you're not already there. I'm gonna head up over there in a few minutes.
And if you guys enjoyed this, let us know, because I'll do this more often. It's like, some people, their jam is giving you 10 tips to how to build your fighter better and stuff like that. And, when you do your thing where you rank every single ancestry and every single, everything, you just do lists and rankings and endless rankings, Derek. But I'm more about just talking about, I'm actually more interested in talking about the industry itself and where it's going. I find that the business part very very interesting, and that's what I like to talk about. And more importantly, I think it's also something I can talk about.
Right.
Which is another reason why I like talking about it, is that I feel like I have some knowledge. So there we go. And so if you like it, we'll keep doing it, because I'm probably not going to do 5 ways to make your monk better. I'm just not good at those.
Right.
But that said, I do have 5 ways to make your monk better. But that's for another show. All right. Thumbs up.
All right, everybody.
Talk to you guys.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Yes. Go Super Bowl.
Ooh.
Are you going to watch it?
Actually, I'm going to do an anti-Super Bowl nerd super stream on Sunday, and I'm going to be talking about role-playing games, which are way cooler than any stupid sports ball. Yeah.
Well, I only do it because one of my best friends is hosting an event, and we have a lot of good food. So
screw the Super Bowl.
Well,
Come watch.
I don't care about Super Bowl, but the food. Oh, I want the food.
Come hang out with us instead.
I'll do both. I'll have your stream on while I'm watching Super Bowl and eating.
All right, that's wins too.
There, see, I can do 2 things at once. All right, go have dinner. See you guys.
All right, see you, everybody. Take care.